If you've ever had the itch to turn that bot loose, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button, folks, and welcome back to another episode of Benzinga's Pre-Market Playbook. Huge day yesterday and looked like a pretty normal day until the press conference, and then we sold off in the afternoon. I see the question out here already today. How low do we go? We're going to take a look at that here today, no doubt. We're also going to cover some of the earnings from last night and what that might mean for today. And don't forget, if that wasn't enough, we've got more big earnings tonight. Amazon and Big Mama Apple coming after the bell today. This morning, we also have our friend Henry Schwartz from the Cboe. He will be joining us, talk about what he sees going on out there. And of course, we're going to have 13 on to get you all set for the pre-market. Benzinga's Pre-Market Playbook, the Thursday edition for July 30th, 2026, begins right now. Good morning and welcome back, folks. It's great to see a whole bunch of returning faces here today. Hope that you all had a wonderful rest of your Wednesday. We're back for another big day of earnings here today. Asrar is checking in first here today. Good morning, and good morning to everybody. Early bird gets the worm, Asrar. Great to see you. Derek, welcome back. It's good to see you. Derek letting us know that DFNS is still going. Oh, man, sometimes you get these crazy runners here. Too rich for my blood to hold overnight. It printed 108 this morning, back down into a 90 handle. Wild stuff there with DFNS. Congratulations to anybody that has been holding that against that risk. Peter, good morning. Welcome back. Ed, good morning. Welcome back. Potji, good afternoon. Welcome back. Zach McCracken, good afternoon to you. And good morning to the Benzi gang. I love it. Solitary Soldier, good morning. Welcome back. Crispy Biscuit, good morning and welcome back. Yes, that girl, good morning. Welcome back. Roostom, great to see you. Good morning. Welcome back. Alan, it's good to see you again. Welcome back. Whis, good morning. Welcome back. Richard Judge, good morning. Welcome back. A lower Fed rate can make loans cheaper, while higher rates are meant to help cool inflation. Indeed, but there's talk that the Fed can't even control mortgage rates at the moment. That is part of the problem. Corey, good morning. Welcome back. Liam, good morning. Welcome back. Liam says, I'm curious to figure out where the bottom is after the sell-off. We'll take a look at that. We'll see what the charts tell us. Buffalo by Bicycle, good morning. Welcome back. G-Cord, good morning. Bernhard, good morning. Daniel, good morning. Thanks for delivering through the back pain. No problem. When it hurts to sit, it sucks, but not really a big deal. You should know that I've actually taken vacation time from work, but still done the show during that vacation time. So I absolutely love this, and I love hanging out with you folks in the morning. Crankbait, good morning. Give morning? I think you meant good morning. Nonetheless, good to see you here. Yassine, welcome back. Good morning. Harlugo, you're the best, Ryan. I don't know about that, but I will take the compliment early on. Good morning, welcome, and thank you for joining us. Alvin, good morning. Moto Guru, good morning. Hoot, good morning. Just passing through, good morning. The Rob, good morning. Brandy, good morning. It's good to see you again. Barb, good morning. Durkus, good morning. Kenjalia, good morning. Lion Atlas is up early. Let's go, Lion. Good morning. Dimebag, good morning. Jeff, good morning. Acorns, good morning. Medot, good morning. Jamaican and C-Spot, good morning. I See My K. Mitch, good morning. Jason, good morning. And Alex, good morning. We got a good crew here early. Seems like everybody's ready to go. So let's get going with that stock market today. All right, futures in the green here ahead of yesterday's lower close. We sold off pretty mightily in the afternoon here. S&P futures higher by 0.7% at the moment. Dow futures up by 0.48%, and the NASDAQ leading the way higher, 1.48%. Now, let's take a look at some cues from last session as well as what we have going on here today. Industrials, information technology, and financial stocks recorded the biggest losses on Wednesday, while energy and consumer staples bucked the overall market trend to close higher, even as most sectors ended up closing lower. U.S. stock futures were higher on Thursday as the Dow, S&P, and NASDAQ indices rose following Wednesday's lower close. U.S. Central Command, or CENTCOM, initiated airstrikes against targets in Iran on Wednesday evening following an attempted Iranian attacks on U.S. personnel in the Middle East. U.S. Central Command described the action on X, stating, quote, "The strikes are a powerful response to yesterday's attempted Iranian attacks on U.S. forces based in the Middle East," end quote. Investors digested the Federal Reserve's decision to leave interest rates unchanged, which came alongside a rare dissent from 3 FOMC members who voted in favor of a rate hike as inflation persists above the Fed's 2% target. Meanwhile, the 10-year Treasury bond yielded 4.69% and the 2-year bond was at 4.27%. The CME Group's Fed Watch Tool projections show the markets are pricing a 65.2% likelihood that the Federal Reserve hikes the current interest rates during its September meeting. Now, we've got several stocks in focus here for you today, and the first one is going to be Meta. That's ticker META, one of the big earnings reports from yesterday. It dropped 8.51% in the pre-market on Thursday after it posted mixed financial results for the second quarter. It anticipates full-year capital expenditures of $130 to $145 billion. This was versus the prior guide of $125 to $145 billion, so they basically just raised the lower end of that. The next stock on our list is going to be Microsoft, and their software darling. The ticker is MSFT, and it jumped 8.09% after reporting better than expected fourth quarter financial results on Wednesday after the market closed. Pretty good report there from Microsoft. The next stock on our list is going to be Qualcomm. The ticker is QCOM, and it was 4.8% lower as it reported third quarter revenue of $9.9 billion, beating a street consensus estimate of $9.67 billion. But adjusted earnings per share were $2.21 in the quarter, and that missed the estimate of $2.23. Apple is on our list next, ticker AAPL. It was down 0.6 as analysts expected to post quarterly earnings of $1.89 per share on revenue of $108.65 billion after the closing bell today. The last stock on our list is our other big report today. It's Amazon, ticker AMZN, and it was 2.47% higher as analysts expect it to post quarterly earnings of $182 per share on revenue of $196.25 billion after the closing bell today. All right, let's take a look at the SPY chart. Let's figure out where we might stop if the sell-off continues. Now, first of all, I understand that we're higher here today. So, given the sell-off yesterday, totally possible that we see a dead cat bounce. In fact, on happy hour yesterday, I told the group I would be entirely unsurprised if we gapped up tomorrow. Where the market closes is likely going to be more important than what we're seeing here in the morning. We'll see if we hold it. In fact, yesterday looked like it was going to be a pretty good day. And then the last hour of the market came and it was just all selling pressure. Now, looking at the daily chart here on the SPY, yesterday with that downward candle, we did close beneath the 731.70. So I have been talking about what are we doing flirting around this 740 level, which was the top end of that support and resistance range. Well, we were battling it for most of the day, but by the last hour there, we waved goodbye to that. And in fact, we actually closed under 731.70. Now today, at least where we are in the pre-market here at 734.84, we are back above that level. So we're back in that range. We're still sideways. This is what it's been. So the reason the close is going to be important today is it should help tell us if we have more downside coming in the near term, or if we're kind of indifferent and we might kind of keep this sideways formation going. If we do continue to break down today, I've got several key levels for you. The first one's going to be 722, and that aligns quite nicely, maybe 722.25, but 722, that aligns with the low print from Wednesday, June 10th. That exact low print, by the way, was 725.33. But 722 in there, that was also a previous all-time high. That should also be some support if we continue to go down. And we also have 717. Actually, excuse me. The candle was actually from Tuesday, June 9th. I beg your pardon. And the low was 722.59. That makes more sense. So that 722 area should be a support level. And then we also have the 100-day at 717. So if we continue to pull, we might get another catch there. Ultimately, however, 200-day down at 699. By the time we get down there, it will probably be 700, maybe even a little bit higher. That would also be our support level. And if we back out, you can see the last time we came into the 200, we actually gapped beneath it, tried to trade back over it, couldn't, and then spent, what was this? So let's see, we lost it here on March 19th. We gapped above it here on April 8th. So it took about a half month, and we're able to get back above the 200. We did go on a nice run, and we've remained there ever since. So just to kind of recap those in order, downside key levels, 722, 717, and then let's just call it 700 to be easy. As far as the upside levels, it's just going to be some of those moving averages, 744 and 745. Let's call it 744 to 745. That represents the 50-day moving average and the 20-day moving average. Ultimately, after that, we'd probably be looking in the 750s, but let's wait until we get there before we look for that. So that's where I think it could end up bottoming. Will it? That's the $64,000 question. Today, hopefully, will give us an indication on what we're going to do there. Now, let's take a look at some insights from analysts here and see what they think. Technology analyst Luke Lango remains firmly bullish on the stock market and the U.S. economy, arguing that the current market anxieties over an, quote, AI risk cocktail, end quote, are grossly overblown and already priced into valuations. Addressing broader economic concerns, Lango emphasizes that elevated oil prices around $85 are elevated but not stagflationary and fall far short of the levels that would severely derail economic momentum. Rather than signaling a structural breakdown, Lango sees a stark disconnect between market sentiment and economic fundamentals. He asserts that, quote, the gap between market fear and fundamental reality is the largest it's been at any point in this AI bull market, end quote. Lango expects the market to recover as investor sentiment realigns with underlying growth metrics. He notes, quote, gaps like this have historically closed with stock prices moving towards fundamentals, not fundamentals collapsing towards stock prices, end quote. Confident in the durability of broader economic expansion and technological infrastructure demand, he views the recent technical sell-off as lacking long-term narrative justification and expects a swift and significant rally as these fundamental clearing signals take hold. So, Liam, not to make this even more confusing for you, although I have no real control over it, what Luke is saying here is that, first of all, the AI fears, including the risk and the CapEx ones, are overblown, and we're likely going to rebound from this, and it's likely going to be fast and furious. So again, determining where this bottom is going to be extremely important. My suggestion for this, don't try and time the exact bottom. That's just going to result in a bunch of despair. Instead, try and feel confident about the move and then pick up some of the meat of the move, as opposed to just trying to nail the dead bottom. Anne-Marie in the chat here, dip buyers trying to get the sellers on the back foot. Traders position long into the close. How well they hold the levels matter. The close of the SPY at 729, an important hold for the traders. Now, that's good. 729, that gives us another downside level there. I had said 722. I had a level there at like 731 and change or so, but 729 might be an intraday level there to take a look at. Thank you, Anne-Marie. And good morning to Anne-Marie. All right. Next, let's take a look at Meta. How are we doing on time? Oh, we're going to have plenty of time here today. I just want to make sure I get through some of these big earnings reports because we do have a guest on Thursday, which is not always the case. And he's been excellent recently. So we want to make sure we have enough time for all of that. Here's where Meta sits. This is important, folks. Here's the daily chart. Meta is sitting at a support. We actually bounced off this same level or thereabouts, maybe 725-ish. This was back when? March of this year. We also had kind of a messy bottom back here from April of last year, and we're basically in the same area. So to my eye here, if Meta's going to have any chance of putting in any type of bull run, it's going to need to hold this. If it does not hold this, and let's just call this 525. If it does not hold this, I got 475 as the next level here to the downside. And I mean, if we continue to break down, we also have a gap that fills down here at 397. I mean, if this continues to move to the downside, there are some pretty nasty levels in there. But right now, we are at a support level. Stock's down just shy of 10% here in the pre-market. Watch Meta. And I'd be curious if any of you are trading Meta here today. Are you looking for a bounce? Are you looking for some continuation? Like if this breaks down from this spot, are you looking for a short? Let's actually assign some numbers to this. Let's say it's 520. If it breaks 520 here, which is basically going to be the after hours low from the print yesterday, do we keep moving down? Is that enough of a catalyst there for a trade? You folks will have to let me know. Let's take a look at the earnings here for this. Mark Zuckerberg says personal AI agents could soon help billions manage their lives. And Meta's going all in on that. Meta's going all in on that. Meta reported second quarter revenue of $60.8 billion, which beat the analyst estimates of $59.5 billion. The tech giant turned in second quarter adjusted earnings of $6.18 per share, which missed the estimates of $7.13 per share, according to Benzinga Pro. And actually, I'm sorry, I actually shared the second story that I was going to go to. My apologies. Let's actually go through the numbers first, Then we'll go through the reaction. Total revenue was up 28% on a year-over-year basis. Family daily active people increased 3% year over year. Ad impressions jumped 14% year over year. And average price per ad also increased by 12% year over year. Meta noted its headcount was down 1% year over year to 75,000 as of June 30th. And if you remember, we were talking to 13 yesterday. His belief is that there needs to be more reduction in work staff there. It is a bloated company. And that is going to weigh on its margins. And if we can cut, it's down, the head count's down 1%. But if they can get that head count down anymore, that might actually help stabilize Meta's price. Meta generated $31.86 billion in cash flow from operations and $784 million in free cash flow during the quarter. The company ended the period with $90.26 billion in cash, in cash equivalents and marketable securities. Quote, AI is accelerating our core business today, powering our next generation of products and opening the door to entirely new enterprise opportunities, end quote. That came from Mark Zuckerberg on the call. He went on to say, the results are already showing, and I'm optimistic about the potential ahead. Meta expects third quarter revenue to be in the range of $61 billion to $64 billion versus estimates of $62.68 billion. Meta expects full year 2026 expenses to be in the range of $165 to $169 billion. That was versus a prior forecast of $162 to $169. The company anticipates full year capital expenditures of $130 to $145 billion. That was versus the prior guide of $125 to $145. The company noted that it's monitoring regulatory matters that could impact its business and its financial results. Quote, for example, we continue to see scrutiny on youth-related issues in several markets and have a number of youth-related trials scheduled for this year in the U.S., which may ultimately result in a material loss, end quote. Meta said that in the release. Now, what else did Meta say? Well, as I already kind of alluded to, Mark Zuckerberg says that AI agents could soon help billions manage their lives. We'll see how good they are at that. I know some people that are already embarking down this road. On Wednesday, Meta, the CEO, Mark Zuckerberg, said personal AI agents could eventually help billions of people manage everything from their careers and finances to their health and relationships, calling the opportunity, quote, almost inevitable, end quote. During Meta's second quarter earnings call, Bernstein analyst Mark Shmulik asked whether consumer AI adoption could move beyond using chatbots as glorified search tools and whether a breakthrough was approaching. Zuckerberg said some AI products have already gained traction. And I would agree with Mark on that because the coding agents, or at least the LLMs that do coding for you or do work for you, like filling in spreadsheets, deriving equations in said spreadsheets and all of that, they're more than a chatbot. Now, how much more is this going to be? That's yet to be seen. Obviously, the end goal of this is an Optimus robot that is equipped with AI and knows a whole bunch of stuff and can do everything from folding your clothes to perhaps repairing your flat tire on your car. Who knows? In the meantime, right now, some of these large language models, they absolutely have gained traction and do more than just a glorified search. The question, though, is how far can that go? And can it really be effective outside of coding? We'll see. Mark Zuckerberg pointed to the rapid growth of coding agents over the past year. He described coding as the first major agentic AI market because developers are technically sophisticated, willing to experiment, and more comfortable working with tools that require setup and troubleshooting. But bringing AI on a massive scale presents a different challenge. Quote, if you're trying to build something that isn't used by millions of people, but is used by billions of people, it just needs to work, end quote. Zuckerberg's right on that. He said he believes it is, quote, extremely unlikely, end quote, that within roughly 5 years, billions of people will not have personal AI agents that understand their goals and work on their behalf around the clock. Those agents could help users manage their health, hobbies, personal finance, careers, relationships, I don't know about that one, household responsibilities, and productivity. Meta is pursuing personal AI agents alongside Meta AI, business-focused agents, and advanced AI models capable of enabling new products. Zuckerberg argued that Meta's experience building consumer products for billions of people could give it an advantage. The company also has the infrastructure needed to support computational intensive AI services at a global scale. Still, he acknowledged that Meta has yet to launch the type of personal AI agent he envisions. Quote, I kind of understand that we need to deliver it for our community, end quote. Went on to say, that's what we're very focused on, end quote. Notably, in June, AGI Incorporated CEO Div Garg warned that AI agents could disrupt major tech companies such as Alphabet, which is ticker GOOG, and Meta by reducing reliance on traditional search and human-driven advertising. And I think that's one of the things that the market is absolutely worried about that we saw in the report yesterday. Now, in addition to Meta, of course, traded down today. Let's also take a look at Microsoft. We may as well start with the chart here, just like we did with Meta. Now, Microsoft, 428.30 here in the pre-market, up 9.6%. And you can see exactly what this daily chart is starting to look like. First of all, this trend line, that it's not a horizontal line, but this trend line that we have connecting the bottom of Microsoft going all the way back to April of 2025, it really does look like Microsoft is kind of put in a bottom. It sold off over 30% to this area. It's actually consolidated. It's tested some of those upper areas, been unable to break, retested some of the lower areas, and held them again. Now with today's gap, we are gapping above the 100. We're gapping above the 50. We have a 20-day moving average that looks like it's ready to blow right through the 50 to the upside. And we also have the 200-day within a stone's throw of where we are. 200-day moving average, 434.23. Current price, 428.20. So right off the bat here, key level, can we actually get and close above the 200-day? Now, Microsoft's already moved 9.6%, so perhaps we're not going to have the strength to move that much further. But I would keep these on your radar for the rest of the week here, for today and tomorrow especially. Also worth noting that the 500-day is at 439 there. So a move to 440 here on Microsoft would be incredible for that chart, and it would might even just bring in more momentum players as it looks like it's bottomed and started to trade up. Now, let's talk about Microsoft's earnings here. We'll go through the actual numbers themselves and then some of the reaction. Microsoft reported fourth quarter revenue of $90.01 billion. This is up 18% year over year. The revenue total beat a street consensus estimate of $87.62 billion, and that was according to data from Benzinga Pro. Here's a look at Microsoft's revenue by its reporting segment. Productivity and business processes came in at $37.8 billion. That was plus 14% year over year. Intelligent cloud came in at 39.3%, which is plus 32%. More personal computing came in at $12.9 billion. That is minus 4% year over year. Overall cloud revenue, $59.3 billion in the quarter, up 27% year over year under intelligent cloud. The Azure, excuse me. I'm sorry about that. The Azure and other cloud services revenue was up 43% year over year. The company reported quarterly earnings per share of $4.74, and this beat the street consensus estimate of $4.24. In the fourth quarter, Microsoft returned $10.2 billion in dividends and buybacks to shareholders. Quote, this year, Azure revenues surpassed $100 billion for the first time. and Microsoft 365 Copilot reached over 30 million paid seats, reflecting the confidence customers are placing in us to power their AI transformation, end quote. That came from Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella. Microsoft's fiscal year revenue totaled $331.8 billion. That's up 18% year over year. And the company adjusted its earnings per share and financials for 2025 and 2026 to reflect past investments in open AI. Now, in addition to this, and I know I'm moving quick, we got our guest coming on here pretty soon. Microsoft says that the next phase of AI is per seat plus consumption as the Copilot usage grows. And I remember when the Copilot thing first came around, I was asking people in this chat and also in the afternoon, and pretty much anyone else that I ran into in the professional world, hey, do you use Copilot? Do you find it helpful? Do you find it good, frankly? And the answer was, for the most part, no. They would use things like Claude or ChatGPT, things that they were used to, and not necessarily the Copilot integration. We also heard that some companies were forcing to use that integration, and now it appears that we have some growth there. So let's check this out. As artificial intelligence shifts from static software to intelligent assistants that work continuously on a user's behalf, Microsoft says the next phase of its AI business will be driven not just by software subscriptions, but by how much customers actually use its AI tools. During its fourth quarter earnings call, CEO Satya Nadella said Microsoft is evolving in commercial model beyond per seat to per seat plus consumption. Quote, "We are also evolving our business model beyond per seat to per seat plus consumption, further expanding our TAM and delivering more customer value," end quote. Finance chief Amy Hood echoed that view, saying Microsoft's expanding AI opportunity is increasingly tied to, quote, "usage and consumption growth," end quote, as more AI experiences become integrated across enterprise workflows. Nadella added that the company's recent added usage-based billing to Microsoft 365 Copilot, with thousands of customers already paying for and actively using the feature, while GitHub Copilot was also seeing meaningful revenue from its newly launched usage-based billing model. Microsoft is positioning Copilot as the centerpiece of its AI strategy. Nadella said chat, cowork, autopilot, and code are coming together in what he called Microsoft's, quote, "flagship super app," end quote, different user roles. As Copilot becomes embedded in more daily workflows, the company stands to benefit not only from software subscriptions, but also from higher AI consumption across its products. Microsoft continues to ramp up AI infrastructure spending to meet demand that the company says still exceeds available computing capacity. So a lot there. First of all, they're telling you that Copilot is growing and it's going to be a huge part of their business. That's definitely a number to watch. But they're also telling you that the company is going to exceed the computing capacity. So there doesn't seem to be any slowdown there on compute. Okay, I got one more news story. Then we're going to get to our guest. This one is on a show favorite. Anne-Marie says, not a fan of Copilot at all, but a lot of companies won't allow anything but Copilot. Where does that bring us, Anne-Marie? That was kind of what I'm hinting at there. All right, one more stock to cover here from the earnings yesterday. This is a show favorite. It's a Ryan favorite. It's a lot of people's favorite. This is Chipotle. Ticker CMG. Diners return to Chipotle, giving earnings and the stock a lift. We knew that because the noob, who joins us all the time, gets all of his lunches from Chipotle, as well as some catering. Chipotle Mexican Grill, ticker CMG. The stock rose in the pre-market trading on Thursday after the restaurant chain reported second quarter results that topped Wall Street's estimates, and it was driven by higher comparable sales and increased customer traffic. Adjusted earnings were 33 cents per share, topping the analyst consensus estimates of 32 cents, according to Benzinga Pro. And revenue increased 9.3% year over year to $3.35 billion, ahead of the consensus estimate of $3.33 billion. Comparable restaurant sales rose 2.2%, supported by a 1% increase in customer transactions, signaling improved guest traffic. Digital sales accounted for 38.3% of total revenue, and that was up from 35.5% a year earlier. The company said sales in the Middle East have begun to recover following recent geopolitical disruptions, although the pace of further expansion will depend on regional conditions. Chipotle repurchased 631 million of its shares during the quarter. Its board also authorized an additional 1.3 billion share repurchase program, bringing the remaining buyback capacity to 1.7 billion as of June 30th. Chipotle Mexican Grill reported cash and cash equivalents of 228.2 million at the end of the second quarter for 2026. That's down from 350.5 million at the end of 2025. Restaurant level operating margin declined 220 basis points from a year earlier as higher operating costs more than offset revenue growth. Cost of sales rose to 29.7% of revenue as inflation and higher usage of chicken, steak, and produce outweighed menu price increases and lower avocado and dairy costs. Labor costs increased 30 basis points year over year to 25% of revenue, reflecting wage inflation and continued investments in the guest experience. Management said business trends remained positive into early July, but softened in recent weeks because of broader consumer and industry headwinds. Chipotle opened its first restaurant in Mexico through partner Alcia during the quarter. The company plans additional restaurants in the Monterrey metropolitan area later in 2026 and in Mexico City in 2027. The company also plans to enter South Korea later in 2026, followed by Singapore in early 2027, while continuing preparations for an expansion into Saudi Arabia. Chipotle opened 101 restaurants during the quarter, including 100 company-owned locations and one operated by an international partner. Chipotle reaffirmed its plan to open about 350 to 370 new restaurants in 2026, with about 80% expected to include a Chipotlane. The company expects cost inflation to remain in the low single-digit range during the third quarter. Labor costs are projected to remain in the mid-25% range, while wage inflation is expected to continue at a low single-digit rate. Menu price increases are expected to reach the mid-2% range in the third quarter, ending the year near the upper end of the previously guided 1% to 2% range. Chipotle continues to expect full-year 2026 comparable sales growth in the low single-digit range. Management also warned that third-quarter comparisons will become more challenging as the company laps stronger promotional activity from a year ago. So, my big question here, first of all, the expansion sounds awesome, but is the bottom in for Chipotle? We've seen Chipotle go on a massive run before. They're buying back some of their stock, reducing the float after the 50-1 stock split. Is the bottom for Chipotle in? That is my question to you. Let me know if you have any trading ideas on that. All right. I know we don't always have a guest on Thursday, but we got one today, and it's going to be a good one. It is my pleasure to bring back our friend Henry Schwartz, VP of Derivatives Market Intelligence at the Cboe Global Markets. Let's bring him on. Henry, good morning. How are you today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing really good. Really excited. Another day, another dollar here. And I'm really thrilled that we've gotten through some of the big events. We were talking leading into this week. It's going to be a big week, biggest reporting week by market cap this earnings season. Plus, we had a Fed meeting in there. I want to ask you about all of that. I hope that's okay.
Absolutely. It's definitely, for the summer doldrums. I mean, we're not having them this year.
I was going to say, I'm familiar with the summer doldrums, but it's definitely summer. Not many doldrums, it would seem. Anyway, Henry, can you give us an update on the macro picture? What did you think of the Fed decision? What do you think about oil?
Well, I mean, that it certainly has been the story of kind of the last, really last 4 or 5 months. And, it was actually pretty interesting, going into the Fed meeting. There was some chatter and there was kind of, potential for a rate hike. And I think everybody was looking at like, well, if we get a hike and it's, it'll spook the market. What's interesting is we didn't, but we still got, basically after kind of a little quick blip up, we sold off pretty hard. It really was a swing of over 120 points for the S&P 500, which we don't see very often. So, so far Warsh's track record on Fed meetings is not looking so great.
So let me ask you a real quick question there. This is kind of what I've been mulling. Obviously, Warsh wants to not have the Fed talk as much. And I actually liked the comment he used yesterday. He wants the market to focus on the ball, not the referee. That resonated with me. I like that. The sell-off that you talked about at the end, do you think that's the market kind of pricing in, well, gosh, we're not really hearing what the plan is. Really, the only way I know how to fix this is to raise interest rates. I know he's talking about pausing, but at some point we're going to have to raise interest rates. Is that what the market was pricing in the afternoon yesterday?
I mean, I think we've seen, the inflation numbers, they continue to be a little bit higher than what
Yep.
people know is the target, right? And there's a lot of reasons for that. And, the energy cost, which, continues to be pretty volatile, but, we're still well above, what things were at the beginning of the year. That the longer things drag on, right? People know, okay, this really is going to filter into basically prices of, not just gas, but everything in the, consumer sector. So, you know, we're also kind of, we're still holding, very near all-time highs. We've come
Yep.
down a couple percent from top. We're having a solid year, and I think people are just a little nervous. And we see these shifts in sentiment can be pretty rapid. And so I feel like the trading community is kind of looking at this as like, well, we're going to continue to chop, and basically we've been looking at several months now of sideways action. So it's possible we're just kind of due for a move of 1.5%. But it's kind of business as usual, I think.
Yeah. Okay. And then any thoughts there on oil? I mean, I know we traded up a little bit, but we're still in an 80 handle. It's been higher than this when the market was higher. I think the fear here is how long are high oil prices going to last? That's my read on it anyway.
Well, yeah, I mean, it really is interesting, right? As kind of the conflict, is kind of chopped around. It hasn't so far really spread, and I think that's got a lot of traders saying, okay, listen, this is a difficult situation, but it doesn't seem to be getting much worse.
Mm-hmm.
I think the patience is kind of starting to wear thin, and people do kind of want to see some stability return. And right now we're not seeing it, and there's a lot of mixed messages that come out from kind of all sides of the equation. So um, I don't know. We don't see any panic. We don't see any extreme fear. We do see some caution. We see some hedging, whether it's the SPX hedging, or we definitely keep a close eye on the USO is a great ETF to watch
Mm-hmm.
for oil, and there's actually a VIX on USO, which is OVX, which I've been actually kind of tracking. The VIX on a number of products that exist, including gold, including oil. So just kind of watching volatility, watching sentiment across these sectors. That's really been kind of the story of the year. Is one of the reasons that index volatility hasn't been so high, right? Because what we see is a lot of different sector and even stock specific volatility, but it's kind of dampened out by the time you get to the index level.
Yeah, no question. I know the big thing for me, President said this was going to be a 6-week ordeal. It's going on 6 months now. And I think the market is, as you said, kind of getting tired of waiting. They want some resolution here. But I agree. It doesn't really seem to be getting worse per se. All right, let's switch to earnings here. How about earnings this go around? To me, at least, it seems that the consumer facing names have done better than some of the AI names. And I would cite Chipotle from yesterday, which I just talked about, and Starbucks, which I haven't covered yet. Both of those had pretty good reports. In fact, as far as Starbucks goes, I feel like that's one of the best Starbucks report we've seen in a long time. What do you think about earnings this go around?
Well, so we use options, basically the price of these short dated straddles, usually weekly options. They give us a great estimate of what the market's expecting, right? If the stock's at
Mm-hmm.
$100 and the straddle that expires immediately after earnings or even a day or two after earnings, if it's trading at $4, we know the market's expecting a move of $4. From that, you can further go into trying to kind of sense some directional expectations if we see a lot of heavy call buying into a number. And what we do, so what we're looking at now basically is we really are, as you said, kind of going into the meat of things. Next week and the week after, we're going to see some. It'll be pretty interesting, right? With Meta and Microsoft, we've had some big numbers. We have Apple and Amazon coming up. We have SpaceX
Right.
next week, which will be
Yep.
kind of interesting considering how that stock has been really kind of hit pretty hard since the post IPO rally. But when you look at the sectors, what basically, as I mentioned, that straddle price tells us what the market is pricing in. If you disagree with it, you can actually, buy a straddle. If the move is bigger than that, you're actually going to make money. If you think the move's not going to be that big, you can sell the straddle. But so what we do is we break out what the moves have been, and what we see in technology and in financials is the moves actually have been a little bit greater than the straddles, versus in some of the other sectors and in the consumer names. It's been kind of in line. So, this is kind of typical. I mean, straddles do a pretty good job of pricing. The traders that are the market equilibrium tends to come out more or less where the prices have been, but in some cases that's not correct. And really interesting. I was just looking. I believe both Meta and Microsoft are kind of landing, at least so far, about where they were priced. Looks like Starbucks is going to be a little bit beyond that, which is pretty interesting, and it creates trading opportunities. And if you have a directional view, and kind of some risk tolerance, you really can use options into earnings to put on a position. Meaning, if you sell a put, a cash secured put, right, there's certainly risk there. But if the stock does sell off and you basically take the strike that you sold, people that I know use that as a way to get into positions very carefully.
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense, right? They want to pay less for it, so they sell a cash secured put. They keep the money if it doesn't work, and if it does, they get the fill at the price they want. That makes sense to me. I'm going to go out of order here a little bit. Can we get an update on SpaceX? I know you just kind of talked about that a little bit. I don't know if you have one or if you've looked at SK Hynix, but that's really kind of been the other big new listing here. Do you have an update predominantly on SpaceX? But if you have anything else on SK Hynix, we'll take it.
Yeah, I mean, I've been trying to kind of look at those two as a pair because they were certainly touted as these super IPOs. Now, SK Hynix was really just an ADR, kind of a change in availability to U.S. investors. Stock was already listed in Korea.
It's getting pounded in Korea.
SpaceX. Yeah, well, Korea certainly had some pretty serious moves. I think they were down 13-14% a couple days ago. You've got these massive IPOs, $1 trillion IPOs. SpaceX kind of really did hit the top, right? Not only did that stock, after a quick little blip over 200, really get pounded. SK Hynix has been kind of similar. You've got a lot of supply coming. Also looking at these other big AI IPOs that are on the horizon. I think kind of people are gauging market condition to figure out if they're really going to pull the trigger or not. But SpaceX has we continue to see moderately bullish flow in SpaceX, which is pretty interesting. I think people actually are kind of saying, listen, this is a long-term play. Obviously, the earnings, whatever they are next week, they're not going to be positive. But it is a long-term play, and there are people that are such strong believers in Musk's capabilities that they want to own some. Some of the professionals I talked to said, look, it's the only way that, currently it's the only way you're going to kind of get into that opportunity. Whether or not it works out is a different story, but in some cases, people feel like they just have to allocate something to the name. And then SK Hynix, it's kind of similar. We see kind of balanced flows. The option activity in SK Hynix is not quite as strong as it is in SpaceX, where it's kind of averaging around 700,000 contracts a day. But we continue to watch that and try to. Our traders really can stick together. To me, SpaceX, so we don't see as much retail activity.
Okay, and then lastly here, this is I can't wait to hear what you have to say about this. But can you give us or can you tell us what the 0 DTE options are telling us? I've been working on a strategy to trade these every day. I'm just curious what you see from your side.
Well, the 0 DTE options have been the biggest story in the options industry in years, right? Started out in 2022. Basically, we see today that they make up about 2/3 of the activity in SPX, the biggest index product on the planet, and also in SPY and Qs and some of these very popular ETFs. So what I did here is basically I run a query that purchases on paper the 0-day straddle every morning at 9:35. Okay, using wherever the market is at that point, picks the closest strike and just holds it into the close. So in general, SPX is around a $7,400 index. That straddle turns out to be around between like 35 and $50. Yesterday, going into the Fed, it was closer to 50. There are sometimes it's gotten as cheap as like $22, $23. And there's an enormous amount of notional exposure to that. So that really is one of the big draws for 0 DTE. But what we see here is the results. If you bought that straddle this year, basically the you're losing money owning those options, which means the flip side of that is there's some opportunity to short premium. Okay. Now, shorting a naked straddle is a very, very expensive and risky proposition. Very few retail traders are going to even think about that. But there are ways to do it using kind of vertical spreads. Effectively, you might sell, a 10-point spread that's 10 or 15 bucks out of the money on the put side. Same thing on the call side. You collect that premium. It may be a couple of dollars, and your risk is capped by the fact that you're basically short a 10 points. Sport is where it was profitable to own the straddle. In fact, that big spike in Q2 of last year is Liberation Day, or is Tariff Day, where Trump turned off the tariffs, basically ran up almost 10% in a single day in the S&P. One of the biggest moves we've ever seen. And the straddle that had been around $40 or $50, because at the time the VIX was pretty high. VIX was around 50. Everybody knew there was a lot of kind of volatilities out there waiting to happen. That straddle actually expired almost $400. So this year it's much more of kind of like, the straddle seems to be a little bit rich, generally appropriately priced, letting people kind of put on positions and take off positions. But so far this year, it's actually been kind of an opportunity for some of these systematic premium sellers that we see that come in, trading those spreads where you sell a call spread and a put spread are called condor trades. And there's a very active community that's doing that, not just once a day. In some cases, they're doing it, once an hour or even more frequent than that.
Wow. Okay. Well, not a surprise there. Option sellers winning again. They seem to win more often than option buyers do every time we check on it. So that makes a lot of sense. Henry, this is great. Was there anything else that you had for us before we let you go here today?
No, I mean, we're also closely watching kind of these shorter dated options in the single stocks. Okay, so there's not dailies, but there's Monday, Wednesdays available in the names that we're talking about, Microsoft, Tesla. They're excluded on the night of earnings in general, so there's not kind of a same day contract you can trade into earnings, because that can get a little bit gnarly with after hours assignments. But we continue to see very strong volume there. A couple million contracts a day. And I'm kind of excited to see how the rest of the summer and into the fall plays out. I mean, we're looking at a really strong year for kind of the small caps. Russell's up still, believe the Russell index is up about 17% year to date, which is 10% beyond what the S&P is up. So it's a really interesting year. That small cap outperformance we've not seen that in about 15 years.
Okay, really interesting year. We still got a third of it left here. We still got 4 months of the year left, so should be an interesting close to 2026. Look, Henry, really appreciate you coming on, breaking down all of this. I look forward to your reports more and more now. Thanks for all that you do here. Have a great rest of your Thursday, and we'll catch you next time.
All right, thanks a lot.
All right, that is Henry. That is Henry Schwartz, VP of Derivatives Market Intelligence at the Cboe Global Markets. Get you the information straight from the source there. Really interesting stuff across the board. All right, I got one more news story here to go through, and then we can start doing ticker time. How are we doing on time? Oh, we are good. I got one more news story, and I got a tweet to go through, and then we'll be all right. Also, I know, thank you, producer, for taking care of this. We were in the middle of the interview when we had the PCE out, so just for tidiness here, we'll kind of clean that up. Initial jobless claims, 197K versus the 201K estimate. Core PCE prices for Q2, 3.4 versus the 3.5. The prior read was 4.0. Let's see, what else do we have here? Core PCE price index month over month, 1/10 versus the 2/10 estimate. U.S. GDP quarter over quarter for Q2, 1.5% versus the 2.1% estimate. Let's see. PCE price index month over month for June, minus 1/10 versus the minus 1/10 estimate. GDP price index quarter over quarter for Q2, 6.3 versus the 4.1%. And then PCE price index year over year for June, 3.7 versus 3.7 estimate. That was in line. Price index month over month for June revisions prior from 4/10 to 5/10. And then the personal spending for June, 3/10 versus the 4/10 estimate. So market here, and actually just taking a look at that, market did not respond a whole lot to that. Might have moved down a little bit. S&P futures still holding higher here by 0.6%. Dow still higher by Dow still higher by 0.35, and the NASDAQ still higher by 1.7%. 0.66. So we still have our green arrows going there. Now, real quick, I did want to cover Starbucks. I had mentioned that a little bit there with Henry, but wanted to cover Starbucks because, like I was saying earlier, this was one of the best reports we've seen from Starbucks in some time. And actually, you know what we'll do here? We'll start with the chart like we have been doing. Sorry for all the switching here. Let's take a look at SBucks, see where we're at with the chart. And you can see exactly why this is so interesting. Now, this came in quite a bit from yesterday. So how this finishes here is going to be really important. You can see when I look inside here, we basically tried to trade up to that trend line up there at 116 and change. We've since backed off. Let's see how it does here today. This is a view from the daily chart there. It's worth noting that we are basically right at the edge of this sideways area that we have outlined. And this goes back quite a ways. This goes back all the way to 2019. This area that we've identified, we're above that or right above that. 108.39 is the current price. 108.28 or thereabouts is the top end of that range. We'll see if we can hold above it, make a move towards that trend line there. But let's take a look at the Starbucks report. Starbucks reported fiscal third quarter revenue of $9.32 billion, which beat the analyst consensus estimate of $9.16 billion. The coffee giant posted adjusted earnings of 85 cents per share for the quarter, which beat the analyst consensus of 66 cents per share, according to Benzinga Pro. Consolidated net revenue was down 1% on a year-over-year basis as global comparable store sales climbed 7.9%, driven by a 4.2% increase in transactions and a 3.5% increase in average ticket. So very interesting. Not only are they buying more, but they're also trading up. I wonder if the protein add to some of the drinks is responsible for that. Comparable store sales were up 8.1% in North America and increased 5.7% internationally. Quote, our Back to Starbucks plan was built on the belief that an extraordinary cup of coffee, human connection, and customer experience win the day, every day. Our third quarter results are proof they do, end quote. And this is from CEO Brian Niccol. Remember, he used to be the CEO of Chipotle for their meteoric rise. He goes on to say, we have more work to do, but we are relentlessly focused on reclaiming the third place and becoming the world's greatest customer service company, end quote. Starbucks opened 175 net new stores in the quarter and ended the period with 41,304 total locations. The company said it had approximately $3.45 billion in cash and cash equivalents at quarter's end. Looking ahead, Starbucks expects global and U.S. comparable sales growth to be slightly greater than 6% in fiscal 2026. That's up from a previous forecast of 5% or more. Consolidated net revenues are expected to show flat to slight growth on a year-over-year basis. Adjusted earnings are expected to be between $2.55 and $2.65. That's up from a prior forecast of $2.25 to $2.45 per share. Starbucks board declared a cash dividend of 62 cents per share, payable on August 28th to shareholders of record on August 14th. So Starbucks, a pretty good report there. Pretty nice move on the chart, at least in the after hours. We'll see how much of that holds into today and where we end up going. All right, next, I got one street tweet to do. We're going to do that, and then we'll do ticker time until pre-market posts. All right, Liam's question earlier, how low can we go in the sell-off here? This doesn't give you a level, but this gives you an idea of what's going on here. The equal-weighted NASDAQ 100 is now underperforming the equal-weighted S&P 500 by 6.8 percentage points so far in July, and that is on track for its worst relative monthly performance on record. Worst on record. This follows 4 consecutive months of outperformance by equal-weighted technology stocks. There has not been a single month over the last 20 years in which the average tech stock underperformed the average S&P 500 stock by more than 5 percentage points. This comes as the equal-weighted S&P 500 is up 2.2% month to date, trading at an all-time high. And at the same time, the equal-weighted NASDAQ 100 is down 4.6%, near its lowest level since mid-May. Investors are taking profits on technology stocks at a historic pace. What other time in history did they do this? Oh, right after the dot-com era. So part of me is just, is it just profit taking, or is this the harbinger of things to come? And I think, Liam, earlier at the outset here, you were kind of asking the same thing. I'd love to get the opinion of the group. I would love to get the opinion of the group. Do you think we're cooked, chat, to use the parlance of today? Do you think we're cooked, or do you think that this is just kind of setting up for another move higher here, in particular if these companies continue to report good earnings? Would love to hear what you folks think on all of that. Okay, yeah, Sel says, great guest chat, very informative. Henry is awesome. I am so glad we've added this guy to the fold. Very, very bright, and he really dives deep on some of the stats that I don't pay attention. I feel like he makes everyone here better. So cheers to that. All right, let's get back to Benzinga Pro here. Let's take a look at whatever you folks want. We've got, 5 minutes until we do pre-market pulse. Let me know. First of all, let me know what you think about the tech sell-off here, if this is the start of something bigger or if it's just setting up for another move higher. I definitely want to know that. But also, let me know if there are any stocks in particular that you want to look at that aren't some of the movers. We'll be looking at that here very shortly. We have 13 joining us. C Boogie says, I still have my 115 Starbucks calls. Well, you might be in luck today. In fact, C Boogie, I would not, if this shows more strength post open, I actually would not be shocked if you got a 115 test. It looked like in the after hours, like in the moment, it was trying to take this trend line out. I mean, it kept pushing up. It was trying. I know it came back in a little bit, but I still think you might be in good shape. Let me know when those expire, by the way. I'd be very curious to know when those expire. Thanks. I hope it holds 109 and trades up. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Tech sell-off, Microsoft not participating. Yeah, Microsoft not participating because it had a great report. Here's what Microsoft looks like. We're actually still holding higher by 9.28%. And remember, one of the things we talked about here on Microsoft when we broke this down earlier in the show, that 200-day is coming. We also have the 500 right above it, but that 200-day is coming, and a close above 200 would be absolutely fantastic. Okay, GLW. So you want to take a look at Corning, Micron. I think you have Perch on there. But let's do GLW first. This is going to be Corning. Here's what it looks like. What a move on Corning. Huge momentum move higher. Big time pullback. Look at this. Right to a previous resistance and support level. Got to think 120 is key here. We've recently held that. It looks like we're in the test right now. Is this a dead cat bounce? If it is, we should get rejected at 135. We should not be able to retake to 200, and maybe we can resume and roll a little bit lower. But if we retake that 200, I think you're actually setting up for probably another move towards 150. So I would say 135, 150, your next two levels higher. Ultimately, 120 is going to be that level lower. And if we break that, it probably goes to this 88 handle, where it consolidated for months, almost 6 months, it looks like. Well, no. 4 months. 4 months. Okay. That was GLW. Let me take a look at PRCH. I can't remember what that is. Yeah, this is Porch Group. I can't remember what they do. You're stumping me here. Vertical software company reinventing the home services and insurance industries. Okay. Chart actually doesn't look too bad here. Stock's up 19%. They must have reported earnings, right? Yeah, it looks like they reported earnings yesterday. They actually a positive EPS there, and the sales 140. Yeah, this looked like a nice quarter there. Market's rewarding it, up 19% here. 1475 is the area that we're at. Okay, so this is great. So this is a hold of the 50, a recapture of the 20. That puts the recent high squarely in focus here. Your exact value there is going to be 1661. Your exact high there. That would be your next area here on Porch. One other thing, let me zoom out here and take a longer. Yep, that's what I thought. Let's take a look at our handy dandy trend lines, which have really, really been good. We'll also give you a target here for Porch Group. Okay, Micron was next. That's ticker MU. see where we're at here. So we lost 800. We're coming into the 100. Boy, did we actually tap that yesterday? I have a low print here, 737.88. No, so we did not quite test the 100-day moving average. We'll see if we actually print it, but that's a pretty substantial move down. The other thing here is I think we can get rid of this inverse head and shoulders. I'll leave it on for one more day just in case something crazy happens here today. But I think that this move down is going to invalidate our inverse head and shoulders. If that's the case, I think Micron is still kind of hunting for a near-term bottom here. I wouldn't rule out 726. I also wouldn't rule out this bottom, which I think we talked about several times. I think we talked about 660 or 650 being a potential add level if this thing really kind of comes in. Ultimately, will it come into the 200-day? I don't know. It's been on a huge run since then. Since the last time it touched it here. Obviously, there are things that are changing. And as far as fundamentally, we've been hearing that, the SK Hynix told us that they don't think creating more chips is going to impact the supply. The demand is just too great. So we'll see here on Micron. Ultimately, I think 726, this 100-day moving average, the next level that it's going to need to hold. Odie, good morning. Welcome back. And anyone else that I might have missed? Duty, Kathy, anyone else that I might have missed? Good morning. All right, folks, it's 9. It's time. Let's do pre-market pulse. Good morning, 13. Sorry, I had to ban a spammer. Ban a spammer.
Span a spammer? Okay.
Yeah, that's wild. Okay. 13, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing just fine. How's everybody? Holy cow. How's everybody in the chat? I would say how everybody, but it looks like that's just nothing but a link, hyperlinks.
Yeah,
anyway.
Multiple hyperlinks. They're banned. It's all good.
All right. Yeah, so how's it going? Nice little reversal we had there. It's kind of I was talking about yesterday. Didn't say anything about it yesterday when we were in happy hour, but I did pick up a little bit of TQQQ because I was mentioning how the move down was pretty, volatile and it seemed like overdone. And here we are bouncing.
We had a discussion yesterday in happy hour. Hey, wouldn't be surprised if we had a dead cat bounce. TQQQ, a good way of playing that. Nice job on that. Did you want to take a look at any of the stocks that reported earnings? Do you want to go straight to the movers?
We can go any which way. The movers list, I've just looked at a few. We can even talk about, because we had that discussion about the new NASDAQ rule. And I think that's going to make for some interesting trades going forward with some of these, small caps under 5 million. But we can get into that in a little bit. Where would you like to start?
Let's just, if the movers are not impressive, let's knock that out because it looks like the chat has a number of charts for some of these bigger names that they'd want to see. So we can leave as much time for that as possible. Let's move over to the movers here. Let me see if I can get my shading back real quick. What did you have on your list? I know everyone is going to want to talk about DFNS.
DFNS. Yeah, we already know about that one. It's off to the side, but we're gonna look at it regardless. NUWE, that's one. PN, which was on our list. I think it was maybe further down the list yesterday. But we didn't look at it. And then STKH, those are the ones I looked at today.
Okay. So let's just start here with DFNS. We already know what's going on here. You have after hours shenanigans. You have more pre-market shenanigans. 13, I'm just kind of looking at some of the recent price action here. I've got a downside trend line up here. I have a target trend line on the top. Look, ultimately, I don't know what this thing's going to do here today. This is, what day is this again? We talked about this yesterday. 1, 2, we've had 3 completed days. This is going to be day 4 of a huge move higher. The stock started at $3, folks.
Mm-hmm.
It printed above 100. It printed 108 in the pre-market. So just know where it came from, know what you're trading, be very, very careful with this name. But it's moving. I also think that the volume might be lightening a little bit here. So we'll see what we get in the regular session. Yesterday, it was kind of meh until the end of the day. I almost wonder if that coincides with what was going on with the Fed.
And then in the after hours, it just took off again.
Yeah,
but also, the thing that concerns me is when you look at this chart and you can see its history. You just go back to the end of 2024 when it did very much something similar to what we're seeing here today, and then it proceeded to sell off over the course of a month or two. I don't think that's completely out of the question. I think this is going to happen again. Just couldn't tell you exactly when. That's why I keep saying Be careful if you're trading this.
Be careful if you're holding it overnight. I mean,
right.
I would.
Yeah, exactly. This is something that could easily just come right back into the single digits. So just, I'm sure everybody's that's trading this is having a great time. I'm happy for you. Just please don't lose what you made.
Zach, I like this. We're approaching Friday too, so be careful. It's been going for a week. And we've seen it before, especially with some of the junkers. At some point, this momentum runs out. But it was up $38 today. Maybe it'll be down $38 tomorrow. Who knows? Just be careful.
And it's a great point too, because this thing back in this 2024, it started going toward the beginning of the week, and then Thursday is when we finally had a red day that pulled it down. So we'll see what we end up getting here. Please don't lose. If you've made a lot of money on this, please don't lose it.
Yeah, it might be time to look for another target if you've done that, or use a small part of your profits to have some fun here. Sorry, Anne-Marie, I missed this comment when you threw it out here when we were talking about the dead cat bounce. Ultimately, it should be a dead cat bounce, but the move up could be savage as so many traders were short into the close. Yesterday, like I was saying, just the action that, maybe you want to call it a bear trap. I don't know. We sold off fast and it was weak, and everything out there was weak. I mean, it was indiscriminate in the selling, and it just felt like, this might break, this might go lower. I could see a lot of traders kind of loading up short going into the close there. And if that's the case, you know what Mr. Market does. He likes to put as many people in pain as possible. So we'll see what we end up getting. Okay, really good stuff there, Anne-Marie. Thank you for your insight. NUWE, this is New Wellis. Stocks up 173%. It's not a China name. It's an American name. It's up huge. Looks like it's just shy of 6. Let's see what it had here for news. New Wellis announces acceptance of new single center receptive study in Frontiers in the Pediatrics Journal. I'll let you go through what was actually in there because I didn't look at it at all. I have a short interest here of this percentage is wrong. This 83% has to be wrong. The raw short interest is 76,000 shares held short. That's actually down from a little bit. 1 day to cover. I imagine this thing had a recent split.
Yep.
June 26th did a 1 for 35.
There's many before.
And many before that. So it's just that percent of float shorted being calculated incorrectly. Ultimately, this says a float of 91K. I got to think, is that what you have from other sources? I got to think that's off a little bit.
No, it's that's what I have in my broker. It's 509K. That's still under $1 million. The reverse split did significantly reduce the float. So it's going to be a small float regardless. And I think that's why you're getting the strange read from the short interest.
I'm just trying to make some sense of this. So looking at here, I'll just share this. Looking at know the float. Remember, folks, float is a notoriously difficult stat to pin down. You're often going to find different sources report different numbers. Just take a look here at Know the Float. Yahoo reports it at 6.9 million. FinViz reports it at 0.86 million. Wall Street Journal reports it at 3.2 million. Dilution Tracker reports it at 1.12 million. 13, I think this is around about $1 million. That's what I would say. So 75,000 shares held short against $1 million in the float. That short interest really isn't terribly high given that. Now, with all that as an aside, the chart news, what do you think, 13?
Well, the chart, you have a trend line that we did breach briefly in the pre-market here. You can, there you go. I just used the first two, drew through. So we did have a brief pop up to 593 and then came back in. We could still hit this trend line again as we approach the open, maybe even capture it and trade over it. But this company does have revenue. It does have some cash. It's not profitable. And it looks to me like based on their cash burn runway, they're going to need to raise capital. So with that in mind, we did have the NASDAQ come up with a new rule here, I think it was last week, where if a company does not have their market cap above 5 million, then for 30 consecutive days, they will be delisted. They will be delisted. There's no cure period. They on very, very small circumstances will there even be a hearing, but this is a rule that's squarely aimed at getting rid of a lot of these junker stocks, and this could happen very soon. We could see this. A lot of these names get removed as early as next month because they're not in compliance. This one being under 5 million market cap when we started here could be on that list. So with that in mind, what happens to these names? Are they going to get pumped up so they can get their market caps over 5 million? Sure. Are they going to get acquired because they can't get above 5 million and they risk delisting? Yeah, sure. A lot of those things can happen. Yep. So just keep that in mind as we trade this. This is on a potential target. If it can't get a $5 million market cap for 30 consecutive days, it's either going to be delisted or picked up. And with that cash position they need, I don't know if it's going to really work in their favor to want to dilute their shares some more, even though that would pull them over the threshold. So there are a lot of things to think about here.
Yeah.
As far as the chart goes, we just need to see this whole thing hold above VWAP, and we can still look for some higher levels.
Yeah, I'm with you there. First of all, great breakdown there on that. I got some more stuff from my notes here that I'll go with on that new rule. Robert says it seems like a good rule. 13, I don't know about you. I tend to agree with this. I think that this is good, right? Like get some, I know it can be fun. Some of these crazy stocks go ballistic, but get the junk off. That makes a lot of sense. NASDAQ's new rule is not a market cap rule in the broad sense. It is a minimum market value of listed securities. So you're going to see MVLS tossed around when talked about this. It is a requirement of $5 million for NASDAQ listed companies. And if they stay below that for 30 consecutive business days, they can be suspended and delisted without the usual cure period, just as 13 said. The rule applies to companies on NASDAQ, Global Select Market, Global Market, and the Capital Market. It focuses on MVLS, which is based off the value of the securities listed on NASDAQ, not necessarily the company's total market cap. So there's a small caveat there, but for all intents and purposes, you covered it well. Companies below $5 million for 30 straight business days face immediate staff delisting action. Cannot emphasize that enough, 13.
Yeah. And there was another point I was going to make about that. But, and this is why you're going to see a lot of funds and institutions really get interested in small caps. This is what I've been hearing, and I think this is the reason why. So small caps could very well be in favor here, and I think that bodes well for the IWM. So some things to consider here with this new rule.
And one more thing I just wanted to add here: this is a tighter standard for microcap and very small companies, especially those with volatile share prices or a thin float. It removes the normal compliance period that many other listing deficiencies allow, so firms can move to OTC trading faster if they slip under the threshold. So I think that based on that, this is targeting some of the shenanigans that we watch all the time, like very, very clearly targeting that. The SEC approved the rule on July 22nd. The Federal Register notice followed on July 27th.
Now
this is fresh.
And one thing that we should also be mindful of is that this is going to affect a number of Chinese stocks. And with this meeting between Trump and Xi coming up on September 24th, the White House has confirmed this, but Beijing is being a little bit wishy-washy about this being an actual thing that's going to stick, and they're going to have this meeting. So I think this could put a lot of pressure on whether or not this meeting ends up happening. So it's something else to watch for.
Okay, well, boy, we got more than we bargained for with this movers rundown already, 13. I absolutely love it. Okay,
I need to get into the next mover still.
I was going to say, I think you said that was going to be PN. Did I get that right?
Yes, it is.
Okay, PN here. PN Smart Energy. Oh, lo and behold, China name. The stock is up 80% here, closed at 1072 yesterday. Looks like it's pressing 20 here this morning. Here's the news on it, and this is fresh here. PN Smart Energy completes acquisition of Nanjing Xishan Power, advancing its transition towards an independent power producer. Okay, sounds good on the surface. 0.98% of the float shorted, 1 day to cover. Float on this thing, 7.62 million. 13, what do you think here?
So this is a solar company. They make a lot of different equipment for solar panels and inverters and whatnot. So this acquisition is helping expand their business. 7.6 million shares in the float. The company has revenue. It has cash. It just had a slightly unprofitable half or quarter, whatever they reported. But in the past, it shows that they have been profitable. So this could be just a brief period of unprofitability for them. This isn't one that's going to be at risk of delisting. They have a market cap well over 5 million. It's been that way for quite some time now. So I don't think they're at risk of being delisted. With that being said, looking at the chart here, this thing continues to climb. It just popped over 20 briefly. it's been leaning on the VWAP all morning. So I think that's the thing to watch for if this starts to come back in. We lose VWAP, I think that's your signal that this is going to continue to come in some more. Support levels that I see are going to be 16, 15, and then the 65 EMA down around 1350.
Okay, good stuff there on PN. Another one that several folks were talking about here is STKH. This is Stakeholder Foods. Wait a sec, though. Yep. Guess what? When we talked about this new rule yesterday on Happy Hour, we used Benzinga Pro to scan for all small cap companies under a 5 million market cap, and we recognized a lot of the names, as you might think. Guess which one was on there?
This one.
Because
it's under $5 million market cap.
Exactly. STKH was absolutely part of that list. 4.81 million market cap. I've got no news on it, and I got the stock up 58%. Coincidence? I don't think so. Quick peek at the short interest here. 2% of the float shorted, 1 day to cover. Again, float 1.77 million shares. That absolutely qualifies as thin and a micro cap and under the 5 million threshold. So this meets all of the criteria. 13, what do you think your STKH? Looks like we've got a little bit of a cup forming from the other day.
I don't have news on the specific move that it's had this week, but I believe it's because of that 1-for-3 reverse split that happened. It was an ADS split that happened on July 27th, Monday. So it's been kind of just riding that ever since. And we actually had a pop earlier this week on Tuesday that took it up much higher than where it was today. So this was, this was kind of, I think this may have hit our scanners earlier, but it wasn't one that we ended up playing because, or I don't think it hit our scanners because it was just intraday. So it may have hit our scanners the next day, but this is rising overnight now, coming back up to towards the highs of Tuesday, which was 611. So that's going to be one spot we could look at. And we can also use this price action on Tuesday for upside resistance. And the next area I see is going to be about 470, 475. So we'll see if we can get through that. Support levels in this one looks like currently it's going to be VWAP and then the 65 EMA. Volume's not great right now, so I'm not sure what to really expect out of this one. It's starting to look a little weak. I think we might see this one initially come down out of the open, but if it gets support from any of those levels to the downside, it may turn around. Okay.
STKH, we'll see what we get there.
Yeah, that's a great point. BYND. I think that really does compare similar to this one. This is a alternative protein industry. They do processing for to simulate different meats. So very much like BYND, I would say STKH is.
Okay. Well, if it trades like BYND, look for this thing to go down.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, sorry for taking the cheap shot there. Next on the list here, we have NBIL and NBIG. These are, of course, the levered ETFs for NBIS. Here's a look at the underlying. NBIS actually has earnings in 13 days. You can see we got pounded yesterday on NBIS, but it looks like we're getting a little bit of a move back here. Let's see if there was any news. Yeah, there was. Excuse me. Nebius stock surges as Microsoft's cloud lifts the neo-cloud sentiment, and Nebius publishes a 2025 sustainability report outlining blueprint for scaling responsibly. Okay, I didn't actually look at this one here today. I am going to have AI help me with that one. 13, I don't know if there's anything you want to cover on the NBIS chart or if you want to talk about it at all, or if we want to move along to any of the other names on this list.
Well, because I think that's a little bit of low-hanging fruit there with the news. Yeah, Microsoft's cloud beat and it lifts the neo-cloud sentiment. Nebius is a provider for Microsoft. Microsoft uses their AI infrastructure and cloud computing power. So it is a customer of NBIS. And I think that's why you're seeing this rise. I think that's the direct correlation here. Not to mention, you also had Anne-Marie talking about the move down. Probably had a lot of shorts pile into this. this has a pretty high amount of short interest already.
Indeed.
And I think you may have had some other shorts leverage into this as well on that move down. So we could be getting a bit of a squeeze here in this name as well.
Okay, well, I've got some more info for you. And we got that info, so you don't have to get it. That PR there, this basically is Nebius trying to signal to investors we can scale AI infrastructure massively without blowing up costs or ESG optics. So there's a huge concern about CapEx and how things are going to scale and what the return here. NBIS, the PR today, is trying to quell that. And as a result, you're seeing the market help this trade up by 13%. This is the big one. Data centers are now measured more like power plants. 1 gigawatt of AI compute is the hyperscaler level infrastructure. So think of like Amazon Web Services and the Azure cloud scale. It implies a massive CapEx pipeline and serious demand expectations for AI training and inference. NBIS is positioning itself as a top tier AI infrastructure player, not a niche cloud. So that's your summary there for the PR. I understand now why the market is trading it up by 13%.
I remember hearing something very interesting that, do you remember the Gamers Nexus video about their chip smuggling investigation?
Yes, I do.
There was one thing that in their talks with different Chinese and Taiwanese data center builders and scalers, they were talking about how compute is being viewed as a new currency. I thought that was a fascinating take, and it's starting to seem like that's the case.
Yeah, it does. And that's interesting too, because I might not have picked up on that.
Well, if you start seeing borrowing against the compute capacity, then that's the case.
Yeah. No, you're right about that. Interesting. Gamers Nexus. Shout out to that channel. Not sponsored or affiliated, but they do great work.
They do great investigative work.
Yeah, they really do. They really put the time and effort into it. That's a really good mention there, 13. Okay, I think that does it here for the movers list. I guess it's worth noting that Xerox is on this, XRX. They reported earnings. They spiked up to 350. This is what the chart looks like. Maybe we get a little trade on this. I have a fair value gap. It's a large one. I don't even know how tradable this is actually going to be here today. It's basically from the bottom of this impulse move up to the bottom of this first candle. So here's your fair value gap. Pretty wide gap on that, but nonetheless, that might be an area to keep in mind here. 13, you want to talk about anything else? I'm going to go back to my big chart here. You have any thoughts on Meta, Microsoft, Lam Research? These are all stocks that people had asked about earlier.
Sure. Pull any one of those up. I just want to make one quick comment on Xerox. Yeah, they had fantastic earnings beat. Absolutely smashed the margin estimates there. But this also has significant short interest here. And I think that you're seeing also a squeeze. You've got 32% of the float shorted with over almost 8.5 days to cover. This could go on for a little bit longer. So we'll see where this gets some support. It's starting to look like 320 might be a support area. We'll see if that ends up holding up. But I think that short interest is notable. And I haven't looked through this earnings report, but man, what a turnaround on their EPS.
Okay. Zach says, let's see how Body McBody will trade today. That's funny because that reminds me of the thing that they did in the UK a number of years ago where they let people vote on what they wanted to name the boat, and they voted to name it Bodie McBoatface, which just is like the funniest thing ever. The bot yesterday was cooking. It was 4-0 going into the Fed meeting. And then by the end of the day, it was 4 wins, 3 losses, and a lot of the profit got bled back. I'll tell you something, though. The lesson that I learned yesterday, on days where the Fed is going to be speaking, maybe turn that thing off, right? Because the bot doesn't really separate what's going on with some of the craziness after an event like that. So I'd have had a monster day yesterday if I had turned it off in the afternoon. But you know what? That data is valuable. I'm going to run it. Zach, I think what I've decided here, I'm going to continue to run it on paper for the rest of the week. So today and tomorrow, I'm going to continue to run it on paper. And if all goes well and I still feel like I feel now, we're going to turn that thing loose on live trading on Monday. The one caveat I will mention about that, when it moves over to actual fills, there might still be some adjustment that needs to get made based on the slippage and the polling speed of how it gets those orders in there. I'll address that when the time comes. But right now, the plan, If all things are a go, the plan is to switch over to real money on Monday. I will let you know how that goes. Okay, 13, you asked me to pull up any stock. I think I might start. Well, you don't like Meta. Should I start with Microsoft because that's one that you like more?
If it got down to 520, not quite yet. 520. Oh no, it did. It did in the after hours. Oh, let's pull up that up. Let's go.
Okay, 13, here's your, I'm going to go to your daily chart. If you guys want to follow along with the intraday chart with 13's excitement, do so. 13, I'll be right back.
Okay, so yeah, I've been talking about 520 for what seems like a while now, at least more than a year. We did get that support area back in April 2025. We did come down to that level. It was a previous resistance level back in 2024. When we finally broke out of it, I was like, okay, well, now that's going to be a support area. We got that support test back in during the Liberation Day unwind when we had the market come down in April last year. We tested it briefly in March this year, and now we're back here again. I'm starting to think that this is not going to end up being such a strong support level. It may end up we may end up losing this at some point, though I don't think that could end up happening just yet. This is going to be very, very low RSI when we open here and start trading. So I think there could be a bit of a rebound here, as we're seeing with a lot of these names that got hammered yesterday. So I'd be expecting, a trade up here, in the morning. I don't know how this is going to end up looking the rest of the day. We do have a gap that's going to the upside that could get filled. I don't know that we're going to end up doing that here today. Every time that we've made a gap, it hasn't been something that we've immediately filled in this name. As a matter of fact, one of the last gaps we made back in July, we didn't fill that for a couple of weeks, or not in July, but in this month, earlier this month, we made a gap and we only filled it, after a couple of weeks. And so there's some gaps we've made that we still haven't filled yet. So I don't think that we're going to reverse and completely trade all the way back up, but I do think that there is a bounce coming here, and I'm really starting to wonder if 520 is even going to hold up as time goes on here, because the more we hammer a support level, the less likely it is going to be to provide that support. But like I said, RSI, very, very low, not the lowest it could go. So we could still see some lower prints, but once we get under 30, I think that we're going to start to see buyers come back in.
Okay, so what was the turnaround spot that you had?
520 has been my support here for a couple of years now, since we broke out of it in 2024. And we've been getting support from that a few times now. So. Okay,
that's the spot to watch. Anyone trading Meta to the downside here today?
And
let me know.
Can-Amp, great to mention here. So Meta expenses were very high, something we've talked a lot about. Yep. And one of the things that I've recently, in a conversation I had with somebody who worked with Meta, they've got a lot of corporate bloat over there. A lot of people they're hanging on to. They just don't want to let them go because they are concerned they'll go and start their own company to compete with Meta. So I think that's one of the reasons why they're hanging on to it, but they are planning on letting go more employees. The thing is that in order to pay them, they are doing it through stock-based compensation. And then they have to, do share buybacks to get those shares back and not have it dilute their float. That has also been putting pressure on their EPS margins. And I think that's why you got it in the red this time. Lots of spending on the AI data center build out, lots of stock-based compensation, and then that's continuing to eat into their share repurchase program. So lots of unfavorable things there happening on the management side with Meta, in my opinion.
Yeah, Buffalo by Bicycle says, I thought we were supposed to all be living in the metaverse right
now.
Oh, yeah,
me too.
That's why Meta's $530 instead of $5,300. So there you go. All right. We got 3 minutes here. Izzy, the sun came up today. So Izzy's asking about Amazon. We'll take a look here at the chart. Of course, Amazon, you're asking if it has news. The news that it has is coming after hours today. They report earnings here today. This is what the chart looks like. Amazon currently sitting at 233.96. Notably, that is right beneath its 200-day. So with the last couple of days here, as Amazon continued to move lower, we actually lost the 200. We found some support at a recent low. This low was from June 24th and 25th, and we bounced back up here, but we're just shy of that 200. Can we get above that 200? We'll see. Obviously, all of that's going to change here when we have Amazon report earnings after hours here today. Just doing a quick check to make sure here. Yep, I got nothing fresh in here. Nothing fresh. This looks like a pre-earnings move here, AMZN. 13, you have anything else on the chart that stands out to you?
Yeah, I'm just kind of wondering if we open and see a rejection of that 200-day SMA, and we continue to the price continues to push lower into the earnings print. I think that'd be okay. I like the sell-off into the earnings print. I think that could set it up for a reversal if the earnings print is favorable enough. So as long as they have some good earnings, we could. I think that could end up being the catalyst that takes it back over and meaningfully closes or has it hold above the 200-day SMA. But for today, I don't really know if we're going to see the other side and close above it today ahead of earnings. I think I would still think that we believe that we're going to be kind of back and forth in this consolidation beneath the 200-day SMA until we get the earnings. That would be my thought. I don't know if we're going to recapture these levels here intraday. Maybe there's some news that does that, but to me, it seems unlikely given this move up into the open we're about to have.
And real quick, I know we're about to open here. Lamb Research plus 26.5%. It notably stopping shy of its 20-day. Let's see where it closes. Okay, flipping over to the main workspace. Here we go. We'll take a quick look at DFNS. First move here is down. Xerox popping and going to the highs. What a move. What a move on Xerox. Right through those pre-market highs. 380 looks like it's coming. 378 your high print intraday.
Yeah, it's coming up to some consolidation in the past from 2025 and basically all of 2025. There's a lot of consolidation here that we're coming up to. But as I pointed out with the short interest, we could squeeze. Now we are getting a little bit extended here with the RSI and on the daily chart. So if we start pushing over 70 here, I would think that there's going to be some sellers stepping in to pull this back down. Great move by Xerox, though.
And UWE, one of our movers, right up to the pre-market high there. Watch this on a 6 bust.
Yeah, right to that trend line, too.
Oh, gosh, I didn't add it to this one. Silly me. Here you go. The 2 high peaks right to the trend line. Look at that, 13. Dude, the trend lines.
These algos, they love to look at these trend lines, don't they?
They love it.
All right, so there's a little bit of
There's your 6 print.
Yeah, 6 print, a little bit of a back off. Maybe there's some more happening here.
Interesting. 6. I don't know how big this is. Starbucks puts. We talked about Starbucks having a really good report, trading up to the trend line. It has been leaking in the after hours and the morning, and now I'm seeing put sweeps into that as Starbucks continues to give back almost all of its earnings move. Yikes. Microsoft, that popped higher here. Remember, we talked about the 200-day. I think at 444 was the value I gave you before. This thing trading higher here. Looks like 440 test coming. 622 your high on NUWE. Wow, we got some moves here.
PN down out of the gate, trying to get some support from the VWAP here. This is that big indicator that if we lose VWAP, then I think this could trade much lower. I would be looking at the 65 EMA. We do have some, we'd have that $16 and that $15 level as well, but the 65 EMA, I think, is going to be the strongest level of support if we lose VWAP here. Amazon down, as we were just talking about. You might get some support right about here at the 230s, low 230s. If we lose that, though, I think you're going to see support just underneath 230. STKH, this is trying to push up higher now. NUWE still having trouble with 6.
Yeah, it fell back beneath 6.
Mm-hmm. One of Jay Rice's mentions yesterday, AMKR, that popped yesterday morning and it came back in and was part of that sell-off there, provided a really great opportunity. It's now back up at the prices it was at yesterday. So there was a nice round trip there if anybody decided to pick that up.
I am seeing Microsoft calls get bought here this morning. So that move higher, the good earnings, the move higher. There's 444. Microsoft calls getting bought. Let's see if we close above the 200. Microsoft, MSFT.
Fantastic move in Microsoft here.
Bull offers Benzinga Pro News now.
Oh, nice.
Let's
That's interesting because I thought they were already offering news.
Yeah, but I don't think they had a deal with our news, and our news is the best news.
No, I mean, like I thought they already had a deal with our news because I remember seeing headlines from Benzinga on their.
I wonder if that was a headline that was picked up by somebody else and then scraped.
Maybe.
But good stuff nonetheless. Making moves. Okay, S&P. So we popped initially out of the gate, 736. Now we're pulling back here. We're about 735. Let me see if I can get VWAP for us here. VWAP 734.94. So that 735 level, we'll see if we hold it here. Market coming in just a tad.
NUWE. I'll get it. Still having trouble with that trend line. 622 is the high. It's coming back in. PN. This is recovering after getting support from the trend line. Still hasn't broken into new highs. The high currently is in the pre-market of 21.22. And then stakeholder. This thing getting pushed. It's just printed 510.
Okay.
The new high. There's also a bit of a trend line here from the pre-market. If we draw the highs here, will give us a little bit of a target for this to go to. We haven't quite hit it yet. So
did you do the high from the after hours and the pre-market high?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I had. Okay, yes. Perfect.
And that's going to take us up to about, I would say at this, with this current candle, or even the next one, it's going to be about 540. It would take it the price to if we hit the trend line. So we'll see if we get that here. A nice move through $5 up to 540 would be quite spectacular.
I know we just took a look at Amazon. That was down ahead of its earnings. Let's check in with Big Mama as well. That is down 1.7% here. That's Apple, of course. Sorry. 332 now. We'll see where Apple settles here. Remember, all that's likely to change with the earnings print here. We did have Andy from our happy hour groups that he opened up an Apple short near the close yesterday. Well, look at that. That's already paying here. So a pretty good move there for Mr. Andy.
Tesla dropped out of the open, found support down around 301 and popped back up. This has a trend line. If you look at the past several trading days,
sure
look at the highs, and that is the trend that this has been trying to get past for the past couple of days now. We'll see if it can do it here, which would be something else if we broke through that. Otherwise, it's going to be a rejection at about 306.5.
Retro says, took many moons, but currently in the green on Chipotle. Let me know when the noob shows up. I want to know. He might not show up. He might be on vacation after those Chipotle earnings. We'll see.
I think Hood is taking profits. I think that's the case too, because they did have two earnings beats, on the top and the bottom. They mentioned record revenues in their different segments, but it's still trading down. And I think you're right that it's just taking profits, and there still could be some more downside to go. I think we need to really get this thing oversold before it turns around. So I would be looking for the price to come down to at least 80. I think it could come down there. It may not, but I think it still could. Tesla's ripping.
Wellness Matters mentioning that memory is ripping back. Here's a look at MU. This is coming back. SanDisk, Kathy had already mentioned this. SanDisk up 15%. So memory coming. How's SK Hynix doing? I asked about that one earlier. Even that's in the green by 9. The monster, as Jim Cramer called it, up by 9.2% here.
Yeah, Tesla ripping. NUWE just put in a slightly higher high. If we start to get upper shadows, I think that's going to be an indication that this is going to come back in. So keep an eye on NUWE. PN, still a little bit sideways. Stakeholder, man, that thing gave it all back. Went right down through the VWAP and tested the 65 EMA, but it looks like it's turning around after that test. So we'll see if it can climb back above VWAP. And if it does, maybe there's some more upside here left.
Now looking like it's trying to bounce from this area. This is basically where it closed on Tuesday. We'll see if NOW can get going. CRM, another software name here. Let's see what that's doing. That dropped out of the gate. That too trying to hold that low area. Bot took 2 of those trades here. Took one on Now and CRM. Target on Now is 113. Target on CRM 184. DFNS is frozen on Webull. Did it get halted or something?
It looks like it's about to go into a halt, but I don't see it halted yet. It might just have such low volume that it's just not moving at the moment. I'm still getting a feed, but it doesn't look like it's moving, and I don't see any indication of a halt. Is it halted for you?
I don't see it moving. Let me see if I have. Yeah, halted.
Okay.
Oh, hang on. Let me get you the exact time. Oh, I'm sorry, I missed this here. Halted at 9:35.27. So this has been halted for 3 minutes already. We're looking at 9:40.27 as the resumption time. And bot got stopped out of 2 of those trades there. Stopped out very small, though. It is halted.
Okay, yeah, it's interesting because I don't have an indication that it is, but other than it's just not moving, and I see sellers stacking up at 73.56.
Yeah, that is indeed halted. NUWE back to the highs. Daniel saying, Ryan, does the bot take trades on low float movers? No. Until I can prove concept that the bot can be reliably or make reliably good trades on the bigger, let's call them more predictable names, then maybe we'll start folding in some of these high flying movers that are low float. Right now, I'm staying away from that on these strategies. Yeah, I define the stock universe that the bot trades, but that's by design.
Yeah. Okay. Excellent. Thank you, AJ, and everybody else that's been mentioning it. Yeah, you guys are right. It is absolutely halted. We just usually in Webull, we usually get an indication that it's halted or suspended for some reason, and there's just no indication of that. So very interesting that they wouldn't have that, but very, very clearly halted with the way.
Yeah, and it looked like a normal halt. It didn't look like there was anything outside of the norm there. IREN, by the way, IREN call sweeps, 38s. These are tomorrow. So these are weekly call sweeps. IREN straight up out of the gate. Excuse me, straight up out of the gate to 35. Oh, I'm so sorry.
All right. And there's this. Initially, and I need to look and see for myself, but just looking at some of these movers that are going, it seems like there's no rhyme or reason for some of these to be up while others are down in similar sectors. It's kind of interesting, but it looks like a lot of these, the high flying names that were just recently getting smacked down, they're starting to show life again. So you get these, I think the drone names are doing okay. Some of the space names look like they're trying to recover. Some of the quantums and the batteries. They seem to be having a pretty okay day for now.
Bloom Energy having a pretty okay day, plus 23% here. This is knocking on the door at 200. We're actually through it. See if we can hold above 200. Someone else brought up Nokia earlier. Nokia had a really nice pre-market and is still trading higher out of the gate.
Yes. This is one of the, okay, so remember how I brought up yesterday that there was an article about the U.S. looking towards its allies to prepare for 6G. And I posted that list of different names that are part of the NVIDIA 6G rollout ecosystem. Nokia is one of them, as is Ericsson and Cisco, and a number of other names. And I'll post it here for y'all in just a second. Here, give me 1 second. But these are all part of the NVIDIA 6G rollout ecosystem. So there could be some other names to certainly look at when it comes to 6G. But these are the ones that I got from NVIDIA's ecosystem.
Okay, thank you for throwing that in the chat. Real quick, Jay seeing a bunch of fades like Starbucks and Fortinet. Now, Jay, let me ask you real quick. Do you think that bodes, or does that say anything about what we're going to see here in the rest of the session? In other words, do you think that the SPY might also come in again based on what you're seeing on some of these earnings fades?
Really getting really concerned about the way NUWE is trading. I don't like these upper shadows here.
Had to register ring for retro. Keep going.
No problem. This current candle, if this ends up closing underneath VWAP and results with it gives the result of a long wick on the top part of it, I think this is going to be an indication that this is about to come in lower. So be careful with NUWE.
Didn't we see this earlier this week with one of these trend lines where the thing busted above, then it couldn't hold it, and then it broke down? I could have sworn this was either yesterday or the day before. We saw this exact setup with your trend line.
Yeah, I think we did. It's just that whenever we get like these upper shadows, in a row, like we are, that's usually an indication that the sellers are just, way too strong right now, and we're going to see the price come back in. So that's what I'd be looking for here. Just keep an eye on this current candle. And man, AMKR, well done, Jay, with your mention here. You just had to pick it up on when it was weak yesterday, and you're doing fine today.
SPY here. This is actually pretty interesting. SPY traded, it had that move up, then it came back in, held the VWAP as well as the 15 EMA, and it's gone back to 636 here. This did trigger both a buy and a sell with the 0 DTE indicator, but it was so fast that the bot didn't even grab it.
Yeah, I think that's pretty fair there, Jay. It's with the exception of Microsoft, that's actually, I think one of the big names that said we're not going to be dumping all kinds of cash into this, AI data center build out. we're gonna we're gonna be a little bit smarter about this, and I think that's really what's paying off for them is managing their capex in a way that keeps the demand very, very strong and creates backlogs. Because I think if they don't want to lead to overcapacity like we're starting to see with some of these other big names in their capex build out, namely Meta.
Yeah, and Meta can't really turn on the profits, right? Meta relies on ad revenue, so it's not as if there's some switch that they can flip where all of a sudden they can start, having positive free cash flow. By the way, a lot of tech names seeing calls get bought here: Tesla, Marvell, Bloom Energy. Say again?
Something just happened because Amazon just had a big spike. I'm seeing a big spike in a lot of names all of a sudden. A lot of the tech names just. Yep. All at once.
And I'm seeing call buying on the back of that. AMD, Cores, Microsoft, MBIS, Tesla, NVIDIA, all of them seeing call buying on a move higher here. Microsoft, remember, above that 200-day moving average. Also got another sell indicator here from the 0 DTE buy.
Wiz just caught it. PN halted up. Thank you. And yeah, this was, man, the TQQQ. That was a good move. Jeez. I was kind of worried too because I picked it up and it continued to sink a little bit in the after hours, and then Microsoft came out and I was like, I might be all right. Whew. What a move.
Now, interestingly, looking at the Qs chart, I have a lot more buy indicators on the Qs for 0 DTE than I do on the SPY.
Look at
so clearly tech leading here so far.
Look at the Qs. This thing was absolutely hammered, and we didn't get to my targets that I was looking at, and we still might. But this thing, Jesus, look at this move down here from the highs. We came down 11.5%. We corrected in the Qs. And I know when you look at some of these other individual names, way bigger corrections. We're talking like 20 to 30, maybe even 40% in some of these names. I think we were looking at one yesterday that had it lost half its value. ARM lost half its value.
I think Kathy said ARM was ripping today. Yeah, ARM up 8% here today. This actually having a pretty good day. Oh, okay, so they actually gave some of that back. It was better this morning.
Yeah, so just tech, particularly the hardware side, as Jay was mentioning, really, really hammered down. Software, still getting hammered down. But it's looking like we don't have too much further to go. And I still maintain that the Qs could end up hitting that 630 to 640 area before we get the meaningful turnaround that leads us higher.
You guys are saying Faraday, FFAI is popping. I know Wiss mentioned that earlier. Looks like Market Snipers on that. FFAI. This is a nice move here.
What's the market cap?
Oh, God, that's a good question, my man. Market cap 11.8, so it's actually above that threshold. That was before today's move, too.
And, it's okay, well, it wasn't always the case because just last week we had a much lower, I think, unless they did a reverse split. Is that what happened here? Did they do a reverse split?
Yes, boy, SPY continuing to trade higher here.
Faraday did a reverse split last week, a 1-for-150.
Oh my gosh. And it has a history of doing that, doesn't it?
Well, I only see one reverse split here, but I thought they did do a lot of reverse splits before.
DFNS is open. This is now moving lower. Can't say we didn't warn you.
And then as we say that, now watch it just turn around and absolutely rip again.
Yeah, of course.
That's what the market does.
It'll make us look as dumb as possible, of course.
That's okay. I'm still sitting pretty with the TQQQ trade.
Are you still in that? Are you?
I'm almost out.
Okay. So scaling out here into this.
Yeah, I've sold most of it already. I
added some Velo yesterday. Velo's trading up here. That just got a little too cheap, I feel like.
Redwire too. That's up at so Redwire, sold off yesterday, found support around 790, and when it came back up, it reached about 840, 838. So that's about where we've come up to now. That could be this could be resistance, and if we come back in, we're going to want to look at some of the support levels from yesterday. And one that stands out pretty decently here is the 815 to 820 support. So if we do come back in here on Redwire, that's where I'd be looking for a level of support.
Okay, good stuff there. Redwire RDW. Sorry, I didn't bring that up here on the chart. I'll do it now.
And Jay, you're right. I mean, it's just crazy how we have all these different companies that buy these chips, and they're saying compute demand is robust. It's we can't meet it. We have backlogs.
Yep.
And yet these chip names are still we were still selling off. Not in that case today, but they may have just been overvalued and they need to correct. Now they could do this whole thing all over again. I don't know that we're going to get back up to these highs we made, but we certainly could trend in that direction.
And that's kind of what I'm thinking, 13. Like the demand is still there. Like nothing's really changed fundamentally. It's just maybe the stocks just got overheated. A move down like this is a healthy thing. This is not a bad thing. This is a really good thing for us that want to be long some of these names.
So stakeholder, this thing lost VWAP, and now it's potentially losing the 65 EMA that the price has been leaning on all pre-market. We lose that, then there's probably not going to be much left here for the morning, and volume is looking pretty bad. So stakeholder not looking good at the moment. PN, this is halted to the downside after being halted to the upside. We unhalted, popped up to 22.30, and now we're halted to the downside. Still leaning on VWAP for support. We'll see what happens out of that halt. And then NUWE, that upper shadow did indicate some downside, but we got support from some of these, some of the pre-market levels, and we did try to recapture that VWAP. That candle closed above it. Now this current one looking like it might lose it if it doesn't provide support here.
Yeah, Jay here saying we needed a breather on the semis. I agree, yeah. Ryan. That's kind of what I feel like it is. And I'm looking across the market now. What I'm noticing here today, the semis, the things that are speculative, like the drones and some of the smaller caps, Velo fits into that. Some of the other space teams, these are all up. And the things that were up, like the consumer-facing names, those are having a tough day. Take a look at Costco. Mm-hmm. Costco's actually down. Oh, that's not right. Thank you, search bar, for effing it there. Here's Costco. Costco's actually down 2%. Jay highlighted that Starbucks, that had one of the best reports it's had in a long time, gave most of it back. Look at Starbucks here. Now it's still higher by 2.3%, but it gave a lot of this back. So we're just kind of seeing an inverse there.
More rotation. I think we do see some of those consumer-facing names come in a little bit, but I don't think they're done. I don't think they're crashing. I think they're just because look, KHC was one of my, I still own it, but it's one of my biggest examples of where these consumer-facing names are headed. We just had the test of the 500-day SMA, couldn't close above that. That brought it up over 70 RSI, so it got to an extended condition. I think that you're going to see a lot of these consumer-facing names cool off. The RSIs are going to come down. They're going to find support, maybe several percent lower than where they are now. And once they get established their footing, they're going to go back up again. I just think that that's what we're looking for. We just, there's a lot of back and forth, and the back creates opportunities, and then the forth creates selling. Meta looking better for the brave. Let me see what Meta's doing. Are we climbing back up? So yeah, this is a little bit of what we were just talking about, how because of how overdone the move down was, that we could see a little bit of recovery. But like I said, I don't think we're seeing this gap that we created overnight fill today. I don't think that's happening. You are going to run into, I think, resistance around 540. That I would think, unless there's some other news coming, might be the high you get for today, the 540 area. And then we'll have to look and see what happens tomorrow. But there could still be a little bit of recovery for the remainder of the week as we see some of that end of month window dressing going into the next month.
Retro, take care of yourself. Thanks for all your support. Be sure to smash that like button on the way out. Have a great day up in the Tetons.
Take care, Retro. All right, Amazon, nice recovery there. So after that selling out of the gate, we are now printing new session highs, higher than the pre-market as well. Good morning.
Yeah, it has not been bad here. Has not been bad.
Give Jay a register ring because he got all the cake.
That's a Cheesecake Factory,
yep.
Which we have been talking. Another consumer-facing name that we've been talking about.
And Jay, what do you think? After we had a great move yesterday, but after we started to put in this doji up here today, and with the RSI exceeding 80, this is kind of where you're like, it's coming back in. Just kind of wondering.
Goldman Sachs.
It looks like they even come right
also
back to
back
90.
today.
ARM giving it back, yeah. Oil moving up, yen moving up. Yields still can't get along again, yeah.
Oil is actually down on the day. Oil's down by 0.8%.
Yeah, and I'm actually, it's funny. I just got out of TQQQ. It went right up to the same area, the same high from yesterday. I think it was off by about 2 cents, but this is where my exit was for good. So I'm done. It can do whatever it wants now. Yeah, why risk it?
Points on that. That's a great job, 13.
I didn't know that I was going to end up getting the remainder. That's why I kept a little bit on to see if it would do it. And now that it did, I'm completely out. But most of my profit taking was closer to the open. Your gut says SPY crashes today. I think we'll see a lot of volatility as we go into August and into the earnings for NVIDIA, which is at the end of August. A lot of seasonality does have NVIDIA going, rising into their earnings for Q2. And then after that, we've got a lot of recent history, basically since COVID, where most of the time, if not all the time, the price will either go sideways after earnings or lower after their Q2 earnings. SpaceX climbing?
Yeah, SpaceX, it climbed out of the open. NBIS at the highs.
Yeah, for SpaceX, still thinking 120 is going to be your next big resistance area. And next week we have earnings. The first earnings report of SpaceX being a public company.
We also have 2 days later, we have the lockup, that 20% lockup expiration.
20% expiry of the lockup. We have 13F filings coming the week after that. We should be getting a lot of those, if not all of them, by August 12th, I believe. And then after that, we have 7% of the unlockable shares being unlocked on Friday, August 21st. That's the 7-day tranche that's being unlocked. After that, we have a 90-day, another tranche of 7% being unlocked at the 90-day mark. And that's going to be September 10th.
Amazon is actually higher than the pre-market. Apple's still lower. Both of those stocks report earnings here later tonight. BE straight up. This is up 29%. What are the earnings estimates for SpaceX? That's a good idea. Let me see if I have those here. Estimated EPS for the August quarter there, 26-cent loss. 6.93 billion in revenue.
That doesn't sound right. They do more than that.
Refinitiv, they have their GPS minus 24 cents.
Wow. Amazon continues to rip. PM giving this thing. So we lost the VWAP, and here we go. Here we go.
Oh, I see what happened. There we go. There we go. Cipher Digital, that's up 26%. They have earnings in 5 days. I feel like we've talked about this one before. How's NUWE doing? That broke our trend line to the downside. Really hasn't firmed up at all yet. Nothing fresh on that.
Nope.
CoreWeave, this is trading higher by 20%. They have earnings in 12 days. They announced a partnership with Leidos to provide secure and sovereign AI cloud services to federal agencies.
Sovereign AI, that's interesting. I think that's worth taking a closer look at. I think that you're going to see a lot of talk about sovereign AI coming in the probably this year, but certainly more heavily next year. I think that's what we're headed next.
I think you're right.
we see with CoreWeave. Let's take a look here with CoreWeave. Let's extend that out. Yeah, so this thing, I guess my top call still stands. It wasn't exact, pretty dang close.
It does.
This looks like CoreWeave looks like it's really under pressure for some downside, but it did get a bounce yesterday because we did hit some an RSI level that we haven't hit since I think December of last year or November of last year. So we could be seeing a turnaround here in CoreWeave. And if that's the case, we have the 20-day SMA that's already provided resistance a couple of times. So that's one hurdle we need to get over. And then I have 85 right after that. So that's two resistance levels for CoreWeave, the 20-day SMA and 85. We
talked about 85 being a really key level. I even think Anne-Marie talked about that in one of the trades that we set up on CoreWeave, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, 85 has been a big support level. Or it was a support level back in last year. And then when we've been trading on both sides of it ever since. So it's kind of like the median the price, since the year started, just kind of dancing around 85, both to the upside and downside.
A SPY continuing to push here. SPY at 738. It'll be interesting to see if we get above 740. That was one of the key levels I gave you to the upside earlier. See if we have the strength to do that.
Yeah, 738. That's been the level the price has held above, since we had the Google and Tesla earnings, and then yesterday we finally had a breakdown of that. But so if we recapture it, that would be certainly notable.
738.50. G-Man mentioning that SPY, we cross over 78.30. We did temporarily, but it looks like we're still kind of running into that 738.50 level. Q is above yesterday's highs. Indeed, that has actually been the good ripper here today.
And Amazon, after that initial drop out of the gate that found support, this thing has just been straight up.
5-point bounce there on Amazon.
What's Microsoft doing? Did that get to 450 yet? Oh yeah, it did. Oh yes, it did. This is super interesting. I'm going to make a bit of a call here. I don't think it'll happen, but if it does, it's because I had this trend line or this line here.
That's what I wanted to hear.
465 is my next resistance level, and we did hit it on June 1st, and we reversed. So I think that's going to be a notable area to watch for. I got a number of different trend lines here, but there's one that does show up prior to 465. So we may see some 460 resistance, but we'll see what ends up happening. We're coming back up to that June high.
15.5% move here on Microsoft. We talked with our guest earlier about how option sellers won most of these earnings battles, not here on Microsoft. Wowzers.
Looks like PM is trying to recover. It's still beneath VWAP. Stakeholder is, I have no stake in this. Amazon still pushing higher. Tesla trying to go higher as well. Still running into resistance around this 308 area. Let me see here. Do I have a resistance level at 308? I don't. It's at 309. So we'll see what happens at 309.
G-Man says, what a day. I am happily crying so far. Okay, well,
love it.
Happily crying is a good thing. We'll take that.
Happy tears are the best kind of tears. I'm a squeeze on Microsoft. Let's go. And TSSI up almost 12%. Swing trade working from 869. Well done. They provide AI data center services. EKS, is that, you mean they sell compute, or are they more of the companies that helps manage data centers? Is Oracle, is bottom finally in? Let's take a look, because this is
Yeah, we've
one of the
been
names
talking
that's
about
been
that for a long time.
super hammered down and needs to be kind of on the recovery here. Here we are on with Oracle coming up to the 20-day SMA. I think that's the big test. We get above that, then it looks like we are in line to get to 140.
Okay, that'd be something. After everything Oracle's been through, that would be something.
TSSI tied to Dell. Thank you. That's great to know. That helps. And Dell, I haven't even looked at Dell today. Oh wow, this one having a good day as well. Recapturing that 50-day SMA with authority, and now we are coming up to the 20-day SMA. There could be resistance at that level. That's at 416.35. Let's see what happens at the 415, 416 area with Dell. Look at PLPC grid play. I think I've looked at this one before.
Which one? PLPC?
Mm-hmm. Preformed line products. I want to say, let me double check my watch list because I might have this in my electrical grid watch list, and I do have this in my electrical grid watch list. Let's take a closer look at what's going on here. So really substantial rebound off the 200-day SMA. I love technical moves like this. The last time that we saw a move off the 200-day SMA was back last year in July. It's almost as if the market's rhyming. So here we are with another move.
It loves to do that.
It certainly does. Here we are with another move off the 200-day SMA. We are now challenging that 50-day SMA. We managed to recapture the 20 as well. Looks like this area though here at the 360, where the just above where the 50-day SMA is. Looks like that could be a little bit of a tough area of resistance. What I would want to see next, unless we get a breakthrough here, I want to see this 20-day SMA, the price hold above it, or at least 320, 325. That would, I think, be the best case scenario here at the moment with PLPC. If we can just hold this move, this big move that it just made back up here. And if we get that, let's say we hold up here for the remainder of the week, I wouldn't be surprised if we see higher prints next week. EME in my grid list. Let's look.
EME. Have we even looked at that stock before? I can't recall.
EME is not. My E names are EMR, ENS, and ETN, and ED and EIX. But the big ones for the electrical side, Eaton and Emerson, big names.
Bot took 3 more trades and already closed all of them. Went 2 for 3 on that, including a QQQ 0 DTE scalp. MCore
is EME. Let's take a look here. So this is more on the construction side, not so much the components like Eaton would be making, but building out the actual infrastructure, putting up or laying down pipe, putting up telephone poles, that kind of thing, right? That's what they do. Well, I'm gonna have to certainly add this thing.
Is that EME you're asking about?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to add that one, because if I have Edison on here,
yeah,
and other names on here, they're all part of the electrical grid, then that certainly needs to be on there as well.
Yeah, definitely. Tesla's at the highs. We're seeing some of the levered ETFs move with that as well. See if there's anything else. Bitcoin at the highs of the day. That had actually temporarily recaptured 65K.
Yeah, we're starting.
VIX getting melted back down to an 18 handle.
Yeah, we're starting to see some of those names that were moving this morning starting to get a little weak here. So all the themes and the names that we were just discussing, the space, the quantum, those are starting to show a sign of weakness here. Finally, we got a red candle in Tesla after just a series of green ones. Still have a couple minutes left in this candle, so it could still turn green, but it looks like across the board we are seeing some weakness emerge.
Market actually looks like it might be rolling over a little bit here. SPY really kind of rolled over. What is this? 738.5. Boy, G-man, 738.5 to 739 looks to be so far the intraday resistance level there on the SPY. Hout Dell 925 to 19. That's a register ring. Way to go, Gary.
Yes,
Gary.
Yes, they do. They do that and more. But they are one of the really big names in not just supplying data center hardware electronic components, but also for utilities and electrical grids, switches. They're kind of the thing between the thing when it comes to a lot of these transferring power from generation to usage. So they are very integral in this whole electrified economy here.
SPY coming back in. We'll see if 737.25 ends up giving it a little bit of support there. We'll see. Hello, businessman. Happy Thursday.
All right. Well, they're getting we're still seeing that weakness here. We're just waiting to see what Tesla does. We had that trend line. I don't know if you did. Perfect. So we're kind of getting support from that right now. And if we do hold up here, then I think we may end up going higher and could see 310 if we hold up this trend line here. It looks like everything is really starting to come back in.
Yeah, it looks like the move in the SPY is taking a breather here, but we want to see if this sets up for another one.
Looks like DFNS is halted to the upside. Still seeing, look at some of these names from we traded previously this week. INLF, this thing is having a nice day. Nice 30% move up out of the gate here.
Gary saying, I got a great alert on Apple. What is the alert? And actually, I bet those options are jacked. Yeah, they sure are. Because of the earnings tonight. What is the alert there, Gary, that you got on Apple? SPY looks like it's continuing to roll over here. Tesla's coming into that trend line that you just talked about.
There was a mention here, Barbon Electric. Yen surge is spurring speculation that Japanese authorities have intervened again. They have their equivalent of the FOMC meeting now. It's today and tomorrow. So we're going to hear about what they're going to do with rates by tomorrow. So I think I think you might be right, but we are getting their central bank meeting right now. So I think that definitely is worth monitoring because we still have this risk of the yen carry trade unwinding, but it may not be a violent unwind. It's shaping up to be a little bit more managed. But we'll see.
Gary
they are having that meeting though. Sorry.
No, it's all right. Gary says, my alert is a 9x12 cross. Is that an EMA cross combined with an STC above a level, sold to close above a level? What is STC? What am I missing there? I'm just trying to figure out what the entry trigger is there on Apple. Apple through VWAP here will get me in. Okay. Seeing a move here in the SPY. Oh, it was too slow to buy that. I did get a buy signal here on the SPY as it looks like it's trying to curl back up.
Yeah, lots of things do look like they're getting some support. We'll see if Tesla gets support here. Amazon continuing higher. A mention of ARM here.
Shaft trend cycle. I don't think I even know what that is. That might give me something to look up, though.
FCX. Yeah, that one. Okay, so we're still climbing further into the 60s. This, copper is going to be so in demand as this build out continues.
Oh, yeah.
So, FCX kind of sideways for all year, but I get the sense that this is, still got some more upside to it.
Someone asked about metals earlier. I can't remember who or what the exact question is, but they were basically asking if metals were going to be dead or not. And I don't think that's the case at all.
No. And I think one of the catalysts that we may end up seeing cause that whole sector to move back up is this upcoming Trump-Xi meeting. Because we did have a 1-year pause on this whole trade argument, and that basically is keeping prices and supply chains open for critical minerals right now. But as this 1-year mark approaches, and as does this Trump-Xi meeting, I think we're going to see metals and other things during that same time last year really start to pick up again, because I think that there's going to be a lot of back and forth and a reemergence of this trade war. So it's something to watch for as tensions heat up. We have that delisting of these really low names that's going to affect a lot of Chinese stocks. I think the metals are going to be favorable again, probably. Maybe not in August, although we might start seeing them turn up next month. But in September, I would expect them to get a lot more attention as that meeting approaches.
Okay. CYCU, this is the penny stock du jour. Wiss calling this one, this at the highs here. I'm avoiding all of this, but this one at the highs. Good stuff, Wiss, if you hit that.
USAR is dead. Can we look at them? Well, they're not at their all-time lows. They're at a support area, so it would be interesting to see if we do get a turnaround here soon. The one concerning thing, and this stock has done it twice already this year, but it's avoided 2 death crosses, and I'm wondering if this time it's not. So that'd be something to watch for here. But I still think that this is potentially starting to put in a bottom. We'll see if that ends up happening. But like I said, I don't expect these the metals to really start turning around and pick up till at the earliest next month, but more likely in September as we approach that Trump-Xi meeting and that 1-year truce expires. So sell ahead in September ahead of Z Summit. That's not what I'm saying. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen, but it's certainly going to be something that is going to affect names because these trade tensions have not resolved.
All right. Looking around here. Man, I'll tell you what, SPY looks like it's trying to go here. I'm going to try this one more time. I'm going to try it one more time here. SPY 0 DTE. We'll see. I'm getting signals to buy. I'm getting conflicting signals, but it does look like it wants to push higher from here. We'll see. AMD, Rip City. Let's take a look here at AMD.
Oh, yeah. So it is on the underside of a trend line here. And I think 500 is going to be a bit of a stiff area of resistance. So I certainly think we could see 500 if, and we still have, this thing reports the same day SpaceX does. So we could see an initial rejection here this week, but next week it may be a little bit more interesting. We might actually be able to recover some of these moving averages that we're coming back up to. I think earnings would have enough of volume to give it a lift back up into this consolidation, maybe even through it. But ahead of that, I'm not sure. I'm not sure we're going to see that move through the consolidation.
Okay, we're getting a move here in SPY as this is continuing to curl. Took a couple of entries to get it there, but that is all right now. I'm going to put a stop since I'm in the green. That way I can't lose. We'll see what happens.
Looks like we're getting a little bit more strength here in some of those movers. Maybe not all of them, but some of them.
SK Hynix, you're saying that's having a good day. Is this going to be its first good day really since that IPO? Yeah, the SK Hynix up 14% here. Oh, and I did get stopped out of that. Well, a little bit. Just SPY.
150 is your resistance in SKHY. That was support ever since the IPO, and then on Monday it just lost it. So now that that support has become resistance. I think 150 is your resistance area in the near term.
SpaceX might be gearing up for another move higher there. Bitcoin pulled back off the highs, and Apple's still holding lower here. SPY actually rolling over. Oh, no, thank God I got stopped out there. SPY rolling over to the 9 EMA. It looks like 737.5. Oh, yes, you're right. Starwood at the lows here. I'm still not worried about this long term. Just giving me an opportunity to add at a lower price here for the dividend.
Mm-hmm.
Bot's been quiet for the last little bit here, ever since that last handful of trades it took.
Gold evaluation of our treasury loan with China. Sorry for the dead air. I'm just looking.
No, you're good. Things. You're good. I'm looking around too. I'm looking around to see if there's anything else getting set up. We're almost out of time here for today. I'll tell you what. This morning flew by. 13. Just absolutely flew by.
Time flies and you're having fun.
Intel. That was, and actually, I think several of you folks asked about Intel earlier. Let's see what it's doing. If we recapture 100 here on Intel, that would be something.
Yeah, it's a big resistance level, though.
Yeah, it sure is. You guys were talking about the memory names doing well. DRAM going to be that ETF. That's also doing well. Bloom still holding higher. God, did Bloom take another leg higher? It sure did. Bloom up almost 30%. Wow.
I really would like to see Intel trade back up to 100, get a rejection, and then come back down to the 200 and fill that gap that was created in April. I would love to see that gap fill and have that be the end of the downside. Now, I'm not saying I'm going to get my wish here, but if we do get a rejection of 100, I would certainly be looking towards that gap fill as being where the downside is headed towards next.
I jumped out of Intel, took 11%. That's worthy of a register ring.
Excellent.
Drew says, just don't let Kramer talk about it. Lol.
Yeah, it's funny. He was saying something about SpaceX, and he had brought up the share unlocks. He was saying something about begging people not to buy it yet until it
Oh, so the bottom's in? Perfect.
Just kidding. Right?
Just kidding. I had to. I mean, I had to take the opportunity there.
I know. That's you know what? It's like in volleyball. I set you up and you spike.
Yeah, it just you have to. Otherwise, you see the bench. SPY maybe curling now. We'll see. I did get a sell indicator on this little pump, and it's pulling back a little bit. Not in it at this point.
Palantir on a downward trend. Yeah, it's been the case for some time. So we're still in this parallel channel ever since we hit the high. Leaning on the 500-day SMA as support, but I don't know that that's going to hold up a whole lot longer. I still think this goes to 90. And there will be a lot of back and forth on the way down because going right to 90 would be a huge oversold event. But I do believe that the loss of the 500-day SMA is coming, and after that, it's just a matter of time. I think 90 is ultimately the spot where I would think this is going to start to turn around and get some strength going.
I wouldn't actually be shocked if SpaceX reports on the 4th. That's Tuesday of next week. That leaves today, tomorrow, and Monday as those sessions. I guess it's in the after hours, so it also gives Tuesday. I wouldn't be surprised to see SpaceX trade up into the earnings. And I think if you get that, you might be okay opening up an earnings short.
I mean, if with how hammered down it's been, we're starting to see recovery into earnings. I think that's certainly going to happen. And I also agree that their earnings will likely see, well, it may not be immediate, the selling, because I think the shares have to unlock first. But I do believe that some of those shares that are getting unlocked, you're going to see some of those sell. Maybe not all of them, but certainly think that you are going to see some selling.
Barb says we remind him of his friends, his punk rock friends growing up. Was never a punk rock fan, so that's an interesting one.
There are some punk rocks that I like. Pink Floyd, I don't think is punk rock.
No,
Pink Floyd, no.
Definitely not.
But Misfits are. Let's see. MU now close to 850. Yeah, and we actually are over 850 a little bit here.
Someone's getting a new couch outside.
Oh, nice. Some intense gaming, I assume. Looks like if we get this recapture of 850, your next resistance is going to be the 20-day SMA.
Which ticker is this?
Micron. Yeah, this thing yesterday, along with a lot of other tech names and some other names that weren't necessarily in tech, that sell-off that we got was just too attractive. Now we're getting a rebound here in a lot of names. And it's interesting too, because we talked about how bearish these candles looked, but we also looked in the past and said, there's plenty of instances where these bearish candles appear and should have another one that follows it, but it doesn't. Look at Micron, for example, on June 5th. Very similar setup here. We were selling, we had a massively red candle. It's a super bearish candle. It looks like there should be another lower print coming. Look what happened the next day. Look what happened the next day.
I'm trying, 13. I'm trying. Here's the big red candle from June 5th that you were talking about. Next day, we closed up near the highs.
Yep.
And then a little bit of back and forth, and then a move higher, ultimately.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it has been back and forth. I think it's been longer than 4 months since it's been in this choppy zone, but it hasn't done what some of these other names have, which is completely sell off. And I think FCX is going to be one of the names that we just keep an eye on and wait for that trade truce to expire, because I think these rare earth names and the metals names, I think they're going to come back. I think that because it's an unresolved issue, it's going to get more volatility again. Big push coming in SPY. Look at SPY. Let's go chart. Come on.
Now I'm actually out of the trade windows for the indicator here. So any other trade on 0 DTEs would be manual. You're saying that it looks like SPY is going to try and push higher?
That's what I was reading from West Capital 5.
Big push coming. He's been calling for 742 to happen today.
Well, I mean, it happened yesterday. We still have a whole day where it could happen, but whether or not we close above that, I think is something I'd be, delivering with a huge question mark. I think for me, I just want to see a recapture and hold above 738. That's what I would like to see.
Here's the key. Oops.
We've had the lowest jobless claims since 1969, just recently. So, it seems like there's, still a lot of people employed, but things are just still too expensive. It's still putting a lot of pressure on household spending. But people are employed, and I think we're seeing a lot of that, especially with look at what Starbucks did. I think that's a really good indication that the consumer is still very resilient.
Yep.
Even if inflation pressures are hurting them.
I think one of the other things we discussed is for some of the things that they feel are luxuries, they're still willing to spend. And the report said not only are they willing to spend on more items, but also higher ticket items, which I think is very interesting. You're right about that.
Okay. Well, the Qs continue to push higher. Tesla climbing further, still hasn't gone to the highs of the regular session here, which is 308.69. What is it about this company that always ends with 69 cents?
They love being memes. 420. It doesn't matter.
This is the biggest meme stock out there. It's also a battleground stock, so it sees a lot of volume.
Indeed it is.
Okay, well, I mean, this market is just, ready to go back up, it looks like.
It looks like that. Qs continue to push here, by the way. They are to the highs.
Oh, Brandon, give yourself a pat on the back and make sure you get a steak dinner today.
I was going to say, make sure you close that because I'm going to give you the register ring a little bit early there. I hate to give register rings prematurely.
Oh, boy. Now, here's a good poll, and we don't have to necessarily set it up. I'm just kind of wondering, is the selling done? Is the selling done? Have we seen some of the lows here for the summer? I don't think we have. I think we're going to see the highs of because we're in the midterm, so there still should be some downside risk. But I think we have yet to see the midterm. We talked about this yesterday in Happy Hour. The midterm highs that should be happening in either August or September. So we could see some recovery here in the next 2 months. But I don't think it's going to mark a new all-time high just yet. Might get close to it though.
Yeah, I'm going to say no. I'm going to say maybe we do roll over one more time here. Really, until that conflict in the Middle East is over, I don't really feel confident on that. Okay, 13. We are out of time here today. Do you have any closing words for the group today?
Fantastic rebound here, and congratulations to everybody that was making these wonderful trades. Everybody just killed it today. Let's bring that energy back here tomorrow. It's going to be another fun day. We're going to have earnings with Apple and Amazon tonight, so that'll give us some fuel to light that fire. Let's see what we get tomorrow, folks. Until then, have a great rest of your day. Stay green. Bye-bye.
All right. Sounds really good, 13. Take care. We will see you tomorrow. We are out of time here for today, folks. Have a great rest of your Thursday. Good luck with the Apple and Amazon prints later today. Stay green, stay safe, stay focused. We'll see you tomorrow.